Hey, good afternoon. Welcome to the morning after show in the afternoon. No, this is like a special. This is a post-conference special, and I usually go live with Ryan in the morning and Larry in the afternoon on Mondays, but we're gonna make this like a 2-hour special. Me and Ryan for an hour, and then don't go anywhere. Larry will come on, and it'll be me and him for the second hour. That way, you don't have to like click and leave things. I just thought that might be easier. Yeah. So how you doing, man?
I'm good, man. Can I say something about Larry? I want to say something about Larry. I really like Larry, man. He's a good guy, and just because we disagree on the Trey Lance stuff, it's really hard for me to see all these people talking trash about Larry. He's a good guy. It's not a serious issue. It's just a sports take. So don't make it personal.
Yeah, I mean, you guys made a bet in good fun, and it's really not that personal. So let's talk about what John Lynch said today. He spoke for about 25 minutes, answered all the questions we had. The first question was about Trey Lance. We followed up as much as we could. Based on what John Lynch said, what is your takeaway about Trey Lance's future with the 49ers?
I mean, honestly, at the end of the day, and I don't like saying at the end of the day, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what they say. Right, he could still possibly get traded, but I walked away from this press conference not thinking he's more likely to get traded than before when I watched it. If anything, it seemed like he's less likely to get traded. What we came away with, John Lynch says, I absolutely expect Trey Lance to be on this roster, which is a good sign for Trey Lance. He also kind of said, there's a lot of smoke there, but not a lot of activity, not a lot of substance. So basically, the way they value Trey Lance is not being reciprocated in these trade talks. People aren't offering them enough for them to want to move on them.
Real quick, maybe they haven't offered him anything. Maybe it's like, hey, what's Trey Lance? What would you like? It's like conversations, but no offers. That's possible.
Yeah. And then the other thing is he said Trey Lance has been aware of these conversations the whole time. I know some people were saying that, how bad that sucks to be Trey Lance and see Ian Rappaport report that you're going to be traded. But it seems like Trey Lance knew the whole time, based on what John Lynch said, that he's been in talks with him at least. Maybe that went after. I don't know. But it totally, to me, it seems like kind of what, I've been saying, is they would be open to trading him, especially John Lynch, if they could get an offer that was big enough to make them want to move on him. But it doesn't seem like they're going to.
And what would that offer be? My guess is they would trade him right now for a second-round pick. But I don't believe they're going to get that offer. And we've talked about why. I've talked about why. And so the question is, would you trade him for a third-round pick? I don't even know if they get that offer. But to me, the only reason you're trading him is because you have a win-now team and you're trying to win the Super Bowl this year. You're telling me this third-round pick 84, is going to be the difference between, or whatever it is, pick 80-something, the difference between the Niners winning the Super Bowl or not winning it this year? I'm skeptical. Highly. Yeah. There's like a 2% chance of that actually happening. So unless you're telling me you're getting a top 50 pick, someone who could actually make an impact this year and be the difference between a Lombardi or not, I think that one's hard to sell. So I do feel like, there's a price here. They're open. He knows the deal. They clearly want Brock to be their starting quarterback, which kills me. We'll talk about that later. Mm-hmm. But in the meantime, the market isn't what they want, and they got some time on their hands because of injuries.
Yeah, and maybe we could talk about Aaron Rodgers. He just got announced traded to the Jets. And so here's what think about this. They traded 2 seconds and they swapped the 15th and the 13th to get Aaron Rodgers. So if Aaron Rodgers is only worth 2 seconds, what makes people think that Trey Lance is going to get that? He's not going to get that. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's what the 49ers probably want for him, is something in that range, a high second, late first, or 2 seconds, something like that.
Let me put Trey Lance in perspective, and this is no fault of his. I really feel that the Niners have done him a very big disservice. Mm-hmm. But the year that gives him value, the year that made him the number 3 pick in the league, was 2019.
Yeah.
Every day that goes by is a little bit further away from 2019. And frankly, that was a long time ago. I mean, I'm sure we go back in the NFL and look at guys who were top 10 in QBR, passer rating that year, who are freaking trash now. Like, that was a long time ago. And I know he's still young, but still, like, that value is based on a long time ago, and the more time that goes by, the more I think teams are like, hold on, yeah, we liked him, but do we still? What's happened? What's changed? So all that's going into it, and I think that's why the Niners, this is the mess they created. You trade up this much, you put a guy on the bench for a year and then get him injured. You can't just flip him for a second and say, hey, it didn't work out. No harm, no foul. No, you got to see this through. You got to see. You can't wash your hands of Trey and get out of it that easily.
Yeah, and if Aaron Rodgers is getting you 2 seconds, Trey Lance, what is he getting? A third, a fourth, something like that?
Maybe. 2/4.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe conditional or something like that. So it's not worth it. It never really has been. I never thought it was going to happen. I still don't. And here's the other thing: if John Lynch really wanted to just really trade Trey Lance, what he would say is the phone has been blowing up for Trey Lance. Not that we're not really getting that many calls. Right? It would be the exact opposite.
I want to say something else. So the Niners are essentially want us to believe that they're so down on Trey or whatever. Well, I don't even know if they want us to believe that, but the theory is that he's been so bad in practice. But remember, he got hurt week 2. So these practices would have been his rookie year when he was doing the scout team. And the job of the scout team is imitate the quarterback for this week. I could see a 21-year-old quarterback who's still learning who he is as a quarterback to struggle at that job. Jimmy never did that job. Jimmy never had to be the scout team quarterback for the 49ers. He got traded here. He learned the offense. They put him on the field. He was a gamer. We don't know if Trey's a gamer because he hasn't played more than 6 consecutive quarters without getting injured or removed from the lineup. So he might just be a gamer like Jimmy and Brock, right? Because if Brock was great in practice, he wouldn't have been the 3rd-string quarterback, right? They would have seen this. So gamer qualities.
Yeah, I mean, again, tape's still out on Jay, or the jury's still out on Trey Lance. And I think even the 49ers feel that way. I really do. I think the 49ers still are like, man, this guy could be good. He could be not.
I wish they felt that way. I'm going to say that. I wish they felt that way. But sometimes the way they talk scares me. That for example, it's so similar to the Philadelphia Eagles. I mentioned them every show. The Eagles had a quarterback from North Dakota State that they traded up for and a backup quarterback who won a Super Bowl. And the Eagles, they didn't say, let's go with the backup quarterback who won a Super Bowl. They said, we got to see this through with this guy because we thought he was special. He got hurt. We don't know. And then they found out and they moved on from both of them. And now they got Jalen Hurts. And I feel like you made too much of a move. They traded up for Wentz. You traded up for Lance. And I think Lance, at his age, Wentz was still at school. You're not allowed to just get rid of him for a 3rd-round pick. You actually have to see what you can do with him before you ruin his career.
I think Kyle Shanahan is looking at this like the opportunity to see it through. Now that Brock Purdy's hurt, it's Trey's chance to OTAs.
I'd like to think that too.
Preseason 1 through 4.
The more every time he opens up his mouth about Sam Darnold, I question it. But I'd like to think that too. One thing I want to say is that I'd like to see Trey Lance with Christian McCaffrey. The way I look at it is the offense sucked last year. It sucked with Trey. And then Jimmy came on, and it sucked with him. And they lost to Denver. They scored 10 points in Denver. And then they were averaging about 19 a game with all this firepower and genius, brain power that they have. Couldn't figure out how to score 20 points a game consistently. Christian McCaffrey comes, everything takes off. All of a sudden, Jimmy's good. He's not throwing picks. Brock comes in, never has to play without Christian McCaffrey. He's great. I'd like to see what Trey Lance, what the Christian McCaffrey effect will be on Trey Lance. I know Trey isn't as good of a checker downer as Brock Purdy. That's a little bit of an adventure for him, but just the running game. What will Trey Lance do for Christian? I think, because McCaffrey was averaging what was he? I mean, about 4.7, 4.8. I think if you have to worry about him and Lance, a dual threat quarterback and McCaffrey,
yeah.
I mean, that's how he was killing it with Cam Newton earlier in his career. So I think the offense could be really, really good if it's just Trey handing off to Christian, Trey handing off to Elijah, Trey handing off to Jordan Mason. I think that offense, the NFC Championship offense that won, could work with Trey. Just want to, and if they do that, they might not start the season 3-5. They actually might win games just by handing off and playing defense. What killed me last year was that Trey had to run. He couldn't just hand off. You're ready. Go.
So one of the things that in regards to Trey Lance, this whole thing is they're letting him compete. And a lot of people are like, oh, he shouldn't have to compete with Sam Darnold. For me, I don't care that he has to compete with Sam Darnold, because if he can't compete with Sam Darnold and win, then he's not who any of us want him to be or think he is. So to me, that compete with Sam Darnold.
Also, if Sam Darnold competes with Trey and beats out Trey, then I think a lot of us will be intrigued by Sam Darnold.
Correct.
Because one thing about Darnold, it's different about him and Trey, to say like who's kind of like the Alex Smith here. Darnold's never been in a good organization or a good team, ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Trey, has been. He's been on a good team, a good organization with good coaches. So what's this going to do for Sam? Maybe nothing, but it's different. Yeah.
I've always just wanted Trey to get the opportunity. I never wanted anyone to give him anything. Like, just give him the opportunity to compete. And if he's that guy, he'll beat him out. I think Trey knows this is his last opportunity. I think Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch know this is his last opportunity, and they're not going to hand it to him. And I don't think they should. I'm a coach. I'm always all about competition. Like, go out there and compete, best man win. And that's all I've ever wanted for Trey Lance. And I think he's going to have that opportunity this season. And I think he's going to win. I really think he'll beat Sam Darnold in the competition.
I think the Niners sort of created the perception last year that they handed him the job. Mm-hmm. They just got rid of Jimmy, or they just benched him. He didn't do anything to lose the job. Then they had that, like, they brought in 16 of the most senior members of the roster and like tried to convince them to support Trey, which is unprecedented. And I'm sure one of those players leaked it, which is why Jay Glazer reported it. Yeah. So maybe they feel like that was on them, mm-hmm. and this competition will it'll give Trey his best shot to win over the team legitimately. Yeah.
I think that was a mistake that they realized, and they're changing it this year. And I honestly think they don't really care who wins the competition. It could be Sam Darnold.
They got two number 3 picks, right? They're both like 26, 22, whatever. Yeah. One of them will work it out.
Put the ball out there, see who wins, and I have no problem with that. I really don't.
Yeah. My problem is the way the Niners have gotten Trey Lance injured so quickly. I mean, they played him 3 preseason games. His rookie year got him injured by the 3rd game. Remember, Jimmy went down. Trey comes in halftime, 2 quarters, starts the next week, plays, then he's injured. So that's 6 quarters he plays, and then he starts this year, gets injured in the 5th quarter. Like, they got to keep him healthy. I'd like to, and he has to keep himself healthy too. I mean, he has to slide, all of that. Otherwise, he'll be hurt at some point in the preseason, is his future with the 49ers, and Sam Darnold will be starting week 1. That could happen too. So I really hope the Niners don't do that. Because you know how the Niners do in preseason? All the good players get to sit. And then if you're competing, you're out there with backups, and it's like the Wild West.
Yeah,
so
I mean, the unfortunate part about the Trey Lance injury part that makes it so frustrating is guys like you and myself and Jesse and countless others were tweeting out, if you keep using Trey Lance this way, he's going to get injured. It was so predictable, and it happened. And hopefully they learn from that.
I had a live blog for Sports Illustrated. I do it every day, every game, and I always have like keys to the game before. And I believe that day one of them was either the live blog or the preview. It was like, don't use Trey Lance like a fullback.
Yeah,
and they did. Yeah. Anyway, Monza says 8 games, 152 yards per game. Franchise quarterback, bring back lemonade stand. Yeah, with Brock, like he was averaging like 220, 230 yards a game. Kurt Warner was throwing. Like he was leading the league in yards per game for like 3 years. So, and unless you're telling me like Brock Purdy's the next Tom Brady, who's gonna develop from late game manager into the greatest quarterback of all time, I just don't see it.
Yeah.
Prince KO says, I got this vibe that Kyle forced John to put out the trade rumors. Fire he started with the "for now" statement. Lynch so eager to move on, but Kyle isn't. That's possible. That's possible. I do want to bring something up in that vein. So the last question of the press conference, someone asked about Lamar. Let me read this because it just was amazing. And so the question was, did you look into Lamar Jackson? Is that still a possibility at all? I almost rolled my eyes like, he's going to say no, but the answer was interesting. He says, you look into everything, John Lynch, and we seem to be linked to everything. I can tell you, I think it's how convicted we are on Brock, on this current group of guys. Like, dude, hold on. First of all, convicted means you're in jail. Like you have conviction in. Come on, John, you went to Stanford. But also like you just said that you're not interested in Lamar Jackson, MVP Lamar Jackson, because you love Brock Purdy.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
can't say that. You can't even think that. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
That's like 6 years ago when you said you weren't really that interested in Patrick Mahomes because you love Kirk Cousins. Like, man, it's just,
I
you
think
can't.
what it
Are you
is,
kidding me?
I think what it is with these guys, man, you're talking about John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan, right? They like Brock Purdy at 900,000 more than they like Lamar Jackson at 50,000. Even though Lamar Jackson's completely out of the league. I think they're obsessed with that cheap quarterback thing, man. I think that's what they're
If
all
you have a
into.
great quarterback on a rookie deal, wonderful.
Yeah.
But if you have a system quarterback on a rookie deal, it doesn't matter if he's making $20 an hour. You're not going to win a Super Bowl. You need to have Jed York said it himself like at the annual meetings a month ago. You need to have a quarterback who's at least very good or more likely all-time great. So what he's making doesn't really matter. And frankly, with how good the Niners are at drafting, especially late in the draft, they should be able to put a team around an MVP quarterback who's making a lot of money. If anyone could do it, they should be able to do it. But you're not interested at all because that's how much you believe in Brock. That says a lot about what they think of Trey, but it also says a lot about who they are as an organization. Not even interested in Lamar. Hey, man, they haven't changed that much in 6 years. They really haven't.
Maybe Lamar isn't a good fit for these 49ers the way they keep their quarterbacks healthy anyways. I mean, so maybe if you're going to injure quarterbacks multiple times per year, you don't want to spend money. So maybe you figure out that part before you think about spending money on a quarterback, because otherwise you might want to go cheap if you're going to need 5 of them.
I mean, imagine they trade for Lamar Jackson, give him the contract he wants, fully guaranteed, week 3, injured. And we're like, oh, right, it's the 49ers. What the hell are we thinking? It was dumb. Right. This is what happens. This is what happens to quarterbacks who go to this team. Yeah. I just feel like let me read it again. Let me read it again.
Yeah.
You look at everything, and we seem to be linked to everything. I can tell you, I think it's how convicted we are on Brock on this current group of guys. Whew. Man, that's got potential to really bite you. Yeah. Bite you for years. You better hope Lamar Jackson doesn't win a Super Bowl, because who has a better chance to win a Super Bowl, Lamar Jackson or Brock Purdy?
If you're asking me, that's not even.
I'm saying Lamar. Yeah. I guess John thinks Brock, which is amazing, but I'm going to say Lamar.
I think it's definitely Lamar, but I also think the money's coming into play for these guys. I really do.
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Someone should tell the Niners it's a quarterback-driven league and it's not 2002 and you can't win a Super Bowl with Brad Johnson as much as you try.
Yeah, you're trying to tell them that regularly. They're not listening. Yeah.
I mean, a lot of me wants to feel like they're open-minded. They like Sam. They like Trey. They like Brock. And then he says something like they like Brock Purdy more than Lamar Jackson. Like, that is just delusional, man. And that means Trey has no chance. And that means that, Sam Darnold might get a little sneak peek until Brock's back. But they're looking at Brock like a franchise quarterback?
But
really?
Do you think Kyle thinks that? Do you really think Kyle thinks that? I don't. I don't think Kyle gives a shit who's playing quarterback. As long as they run his system, I don't think he thinks Lamar is or Brock is better than Lamar. I think he thinks I can get by with Brock and save a hell of a lot of money because it's my system that's going to win us this thing, not the quarterback.
All right, let me ask you a question. Do you think Brock Purdy is a franchise quarterback? Because the way John Lynch spoke today about him and how that's how convicted they're not interested in MVP Lamar Jackson, because that's how much conviction they have in Brock Purdy. That to me sounds like John Lynch at least thinks that Brock Purdy is a franchise quarterback. Would you agree with my assessment? And what is your assessment? Can Brock be a franchise quarterback?
I don't think he can. I know that's going to piss off a lot of people, but here's my thing. If I'm running an organization, if I don't have a top 10, top 12 quarterback, I'm looking for one. That's it. And that's a franchise quarterback. And if Brock Purdy's not a top 10, top 12.
You might even say top 7, 8.
Right. If you don't have that,
you know what I mean? Yeah.
For that guy.
Yeah.
And I don't think Brock Purdy's that guy. I don't. I think he could be top 15, somewhere in that range. Best case scenario. But I don't think he's a top 10 quarterback. And I don't think the 49ers really think that. I would be surprised. I don't care how many, what his numbers look like on those 8 games. That's great. I'm talking about long term. He's kind of small. His arm's not that strong. I really just don't believe
not that fast.
He's not that. Look at the top 7 quarterbacks, top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL right now.
What do they have in common?
What do they have in common, right?
Let's list it off.
Yeah.
It's what Jordan Palmer says. They can get the ball out of their hands quickly.
Yeah.
They're mobile. They can push the ball down the field. But I also would say none of them are small.
None of them are small. They all have arm strength, pretty much. Burrow's maybe on the smaller, but he's still way
But
better
they can
than
all get the ball. They can complete the ball down the field, outside the numbers, 30 yards down the field, 35, 40 yards down the field. Like you never see Purdy do that. So to me, I see a guy who can get the ball out of his hands quickly, who's quick and can run around behind the line of scrimmage and give you maybe 15, 20 yards a game, which makes him mobile. But he's small and he doesn't have he cannot push the ball. He has what you would call a below average arm strength. And that's before the UCL injury.
Before the injury, yeah. So what's it going to be like
To me,
after? We don't know.
He is a backup quarterback, a high-level backup. But if you put him on the Carolina Panthers last year, okay, where Sam Darnold was, is Brock Purdy playing better than Sam Darnold did? Or Baker Mayfield? I don't think so.
I don't know.
I don't think so. I don't. He's not a kind of guy that's going to overcome a bad situation or a bad team. He's in a great situation with a great team, and he added to it. But no. I mean, like, again, Nick Foles was in a great situation, a loaded team in 2017, won on a run, won the NFC Championship game, won the Super Bowl, put up big numbers in those games, and the Eagles were like, hey, cool, bud, you're our backup quarterback. And they were right. The Niners over here are just so sentimental. They're like, hey, forget what we thought about Brock Purdy. Throw out the evaluation that he was, the next Nick Mullins. Actually, he's our franchise quarterback because it's 2 months. You know what I mean? Like, man, that is just not how other organizations operate. And to me, you should be acting like what we know is we have a great backup quarterback, the perfect backup quarterback for us. But we're still on the hunt for a franchise quarterback. And it may be no one on our team. It could be no one.
I think
it could be Trey. It could be Sam.
I think Brock's a starter in this league, but he's not top 15. I think he's 15 or less. I think he has the playmaking ability that makes him a starting level quarterback. I think he has the vision. Like, he has the vision. He has the escapability. He has the playmaking ability. Right. I
like that too.
So I think
here's my question though.
Yeah.
Here's my thing though. Like, look through all of his longest throws of the season was the long throw down the middle to Kittle that was supposed to go to Ray. Mm-hmm. He threw a couple like 30, 35-yard passes down the middle. I don't think he can throw those to the sideline, and I don't think he has much. I don't think he can throw the ball 50 yards in the air. I don't know that he can throw the ball 45 yards in the air, and I don't know what he can do now. And I feel like I always said Jimmy played on a tennis court. You know, he doesn't throw to the sideline, he doesn't throw deep. Well, Brock kind of plays on like a doubles tennis court. Like, he gets the ball a little bit more to the sidelines
like
underneath, but yeah, man, I feel like once people get his tendencies that he's not throwing deep at all, once pressure comes, he's spinning left. Like, you take away Christian McCaffrey he's not on the best team in the league, or he actually gets a contract and he's making money. Mm-hmm. He's a system quarterback. He's a great backup quarterback, and he could win with him on this team. You could start him for a season. He could win, but still, that's just a backup doing his job on a great team. That's the way I look at it. And I would not give him a big contract.
He's not a franchise quarterback. I'll put it that way. No. You know, I think he could be started for a lot of teams. I think he's better than a lot of quarterbacks that do start in this league, but he's definitely not. I think 15 is his max.
I keep thinking about, like, if you put him on the Cardinals, would they win?
No, I mean, they don't win with Kyler Murray, so.
No. If you put him on the Rams, would they win?
No.
I don't think so. He's in a great situation.
My comp for Brock Purdy has always been Tua. That's kind of what it reminds me of. He has the mental part. He has the playmaking part. He's pretty accurate short distance, but he doesn't have an arm. He's not big. I think even
Tua can push the ball down the field better than Brock. I mean, I bet if you look at Tua's highlights, you can find a bunch of throws of him putting it 40 yards down the field to Tyreek and Waddle. Like, Purdy can't do that. He can't. I don't think he can.
And it's less likely now after this surgery for sure.
If he could have, he wouldn't have been the last pick in the draft. He would have went to Alabama.
Yeah, there's a reason. Yeah.
Hey, but I heard he's actually Jalen Hurts. I'm sorry, Larry. I'm sorry. No, I think what gets mixed up is they're both listed at 6'1", 220. And I think that's where Larry's coming from. But Brock Purdy's not 6'1", 220. I don't know why the Niners list him at 6'1", 220. I've seen him in person. Yeah. If he's 210 pounds, I'd be shocked. Seriously.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts actually looks 6'1", 220.
Dude, Jalen Hurts is a power lifter.
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts can squat like 600 something pounds. You can't. Brock is not. No.
No. Completely different. And it's funny, didn't you took a survey and wasn't like 29% of the people said that Brock Purdy was better than Jalen Hurts. Did you ask who's better, right?
Yeah, I think it's hella funny. Like sometimes I can't help but just say like, hey, a big reason why a lot of people don't like Trey is that there's just an unconscious racial bias with these quarterbacks, and a lot of people are like, they get the most mad. It's like, well, you're telling on yourself. Like if you thought I was wrong, you just wouldn't acknowledge it. But the ones that want to engage and say that I'm wrong, race baiting or whatever, I'm like, okay, well, you just proved my point, but you can prove it again. Who's a better quarterback, Brock Purdy or Jalen Hurts? And they're like, oh, Brock Purdy. I'm like, well, there you go. Right. You can't even say that arguably the best black quarterback in the league is better than Brock. Like, what does that say? What does that say?
What does it say? Hurt dogs howl or something like that, right?
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Yeah,
the only people get mad about that, it's their insecurities they're projecting.
Yeah. Glass half full guy says, did we as a fan base expect Lynch to give us a real answers about trading Trey or Aiyuk? I didn't. These press conferences are baloney. I mean, I think he wants to be seen as a guy with some integrity that doesn't just put him like blatantly lie on the record. Yeah. So there's that. But yeah, they didn't really say much at pre-draft press conferences. Sorry. Lamar's in the face for these fans in front office optically. Mansa Toure.
I know what you're saying. Yeah.
I feel like only certain teams and markets would be cool with Lamar Jackson being the face of their team. Baltimore's one, Philly would be another. Those are two. Are the Niners? Apparently not. No. Apparently not. Because they got Brock and they're so convicted. Michael McCann says, SF is Rodney Dangerfield and Caddyshack. Nice hat. This thing should have come with a free bowl of soup. Looks good on you though. Destroying trade value. That's hilarious. Thank you very much. I love that line. That movie's kind of corny to me, but he's really funny in it. Dave Barclay says, how much I miss 27 minutes. We're going to recap the whole thing. We're going to do the first 27 minutes over again. Dave, I love you. From research, his arm will get stronger. Are you sure? I thought the reconstruction guys get stronger arms.
What research? Nick Mullins?
Lynch, yeah. Did his arm get stronger? Lynch is completely sold on Purdy. No question. And it really troubles me. I'd like to think that Kyle isn't. Drewish guy says 199. Isn't that a joke from Spaceballs? Drewish?
Yeah, I think it is.
Battle Beast 19 says, Grant, was it just me or did Lynch look at you like, Grant, don't do me like this when you ask questions? I like to think that I put people on their heels a little bit when I ask questions and they don't know exactly where I'm coming from and they think I might be trying to. And so I like that because a lot of the time I'm not trying to.
I like your question when you asked, and this is a big one too, but we probably should have talked about it last one. You asked if Trey Lance asked to be traded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, what about that? And he was like, no.
He did
which
not
was
look
great.
happy
I mean,
about the question though either.
Good. I mean, that's a straight answer. I appreciate that. That means that they probably haven't. And the way I look at it is, I don't think Trey has the leverage to ask that. I mean, you haven't done anything. And if the 49ers, who have a pristine reputation around the league, say, hey, man, first of all, he's not what we thought he is. Second of all, now he's a malcontent. I think it could hurt his reputation in the league. And I don't think his agents, who are very, have a ton of clients, Sexton and whoever the other guy is, want to go to war with the Niners over Trey. So he's got to be the good soldier.
And I think that's just who Trey Lance is. And I really think he's confident in himself. I would bet you that if Trey Lance thought he had a fair competition against Sam Darnold, that he's going to win that competition. I believe that he believes that.
Yeah.
And so
also, the big difference between him and Zach Wilson, who also is getting run out of town or has lost the starting job, who was picked ahead of him, is they don't like the person. And it looks like they're trying to get him out of the organization. Like, no one has said that about Trey. Trey's a good guy. So, yeah, there's that. Yeah. Pyrite Purdy. Pyrite is fool's gold. Andrew Menard. Yeah, I mean, he's a great backup quarterback to have. He's $900,000. I just don't understand the need to just clear the deck and commit yourself to him when it's like, dude, no. There's no need, and you can't convince me no. Dave Barclay, even if he hadn't torn his UCL. Yeah. Dave Barclay says, love you guys. Haha, thanks, Grant. I look forward to these videos. Thank you, man. It's going to be a long show. Monster Toure says Sam Darnold has same agents. Is that true?
Same agents as Trey?
Let me see.
Interesting.
That's wild. Just a second. Yep, Jimmy Sexton. Oh, wow. Good eye. That's awkward. Okay.
It's a little bit of a dynamic. Yeah.
Trey, you might want to get yourself some new agents, buddy. They got a conflict of interest. All right. After hearing what I asked John Lynch, do you see yourself? Have you had discussions about trading Brandon Aiyuk? And he said, listen, we really like Brandon Aiyuk. We have big plans for this year, and he's part of them. So that means he's going to be on the team at least for one more year. How do you read his future with the team?
So I think this year is done deal. Obviously, I don't think he's going to be traded. Didn't seem like that at all. He said Brandon Aiyuk. Yeah, we're planning something special this year, and Brandon Aiyuk is a big part of that. So he's definitely not going anywhere. But here's something crazy, Grant. In 2024, Deebo Samuel is going to have a cap hit of $28 million. George Kittle, $18 million. If they give him his fifth-year option, Brandon Aiyuk is going to cost $14 million. That's $60 million between Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, Brandon Aiyuk. That's not going to happen. So what I look at is like this is the year where the 49ers decide between Deebo and Brandon Aiyuk. That's how I look at it. I don't think we're going to have both of them beyond this year. I mean, they could restructure Deebo, but do you really want to restructure a player like Deebo? Like, I don't think you do because of the way he plays. His play style does not dictate for a long career. So I think kicking the can down the road on Deebo would be a mistake. So they're not going to pay $60 million for Kittle, Deebo, and Aiyuk. So this is the last year I think we have all three of those, or at least Deebo and Aiyuk together.
I'm with you on that. The way I look at it is, like, let's look at that trio that you just mentioned: Aiyuk, Deebo, Kittle. If we're looking at trading one guy next year, you could say Aiyuk because he's going to get expensive, but he's the youngest of them. He's 20. He just turned 25, right? So that's a reason not to trade Aiyuk. Yeah. Also, like, the quarterbacks in your room are 25, 26, 22, 22. So they're Aiyuk's age. Like, they can all grow together. So that's one reason to keep Aiyuk. Also, you can extend him. You give him that signing bonus the first few years. He's not that expensive against the cap. Then when he does get expensive, the cap goes up because it's going to be a new TV deal. Like, you can afford Brandon Aiyuk, and he's very good. You could also trade Deebo Samuel. Last year was a real disappointment, but what if he has a big bounce back year? I mean, he's very unique, very explosive. Mm-hmm. Then there's Kittle, who had a great year last year, but I don't know if I think he's about to turn 30. I mean, he had some injury-filled years before then. He's the oldest of the three. If they trade him next year, they will save almost $10 million against the cap. I think if they were going to trade one of them, assuming Deebo has a full year, I might be most inclined to trade Kittle, considering I was okay to trade him last year. Kittle.
Well, there's two things. Let's see who they draft.
Right.
If they draft a tight end one caliber tight end, then the writing's kind of on the wall, I think, in that regard. But if Deebo bounces back, or if Deebo doesn't have a good year like he did 2 years ago, it might be Deebo who's out of here. But I think Aiyuk's out of those three guys. I'm keeping Aiyuk based on last season, man. Especially if you get a draft a tight end one to replace George Kittle this year.
Well, the thing about Deebo, the scary thing about Deebo is if he has another injury-filled year, I don't think anyone's trading for him and his,
21, 28 million. 28 million.
So, I mean, not all of that. Like, the Niners are responsible for the salary cap. So the cap number, you got to take that out. Yeah. So I don't know how much he would be.
His base salary is 20.9.
Yeah. So if he has back-to-back disappointing seasons, now he has a disgusting contract and you can't move him.
Yeah.
So I'm still going back to, I think the most likely person to trade is Kittle. And if he has another season like last year, do you trade him? I mean, it's hard to find a tight end. Like, how many good? Yeah, it's true. That's true.
Yeah. Okay. Really, it's about who they draft. And I think they're going to draft a wide receiver too. So if that wide receiver, I think they're going to draft a tight end and a wide receiver. If that tight end can replace Kittle, boom. If the wide receiver they draft or Danny Gray can replace either Deebo or Aiyuk, then that might dictate it as well.
Absolutely. All right. So it's looking real unlikely that the Niners will trade Trey Lance on draft night, barring some team giving him a second round pick, which I don't see happening, at least anytime soon. And then John Lynch said they're not trading Brandon Aiyuk this year. So take those two off the table. What players do you think are most likely to get traded on draft night, if any?
I got 3 of them. So there's
Okay.
3 of them. Let's take one. The other 2 play the same position, but the first one would be possibly Javon Kinlaw if they can get anything that makes it worth it. And let me give you another answer at the end too of what I think was actually going to be traded. But if they're going to trade a player, I could see them being willing to move on Javon Kinlaw because they could save some money by doing that. It's just, are they really going to get much for him? That's kind of the question. So that's the first one. The other one,
what I would do with Kinlaw is I wouldn't trade him for a pick because I think a pick is probably not worth much. He's probably not worth much. But what you could do is trade him for another player, someone who was another first round pick like him, who maybe has had injury issues or the team has replaced. They got a guy like the Niners got Hargrave. That'd be perfect. A 1-for-1 swap where the Niners can say we love this guy coming out. We gave him a first round grade, and the next team can say we love Kinlaw coming out. That would be. It's what the Niners did with AJ Jenkins. They flipped him for Jonathan Baldwin, who was another first round pick who disappointed. I forget which team, Kansas City,
and it would give him a fresh start. But I'll tell you what, Kinlaw does look great, man. So maybe he bounces back. Maybe it'd be a mistake. I don't know, but he looks great right now. But I think he's one of the guys that I think I could see them parting with on draft night. Okay, the other 2. Play the same position. To me, it's going to come down to possibly being Elijah Mitchell or TDP because they traded last year. They traded Trey Sermon, who was their 3rd round pick the year before. Mm-hmm. This year, that same guy is TDP. So they have CMC. They have Jordan Mason, who looked amazing. Do you really need both TDP and Elijah Mitchell? You'll probably get more for Elijah Mitchell, but I think you could probably move TDP. And also, Kyle Shanahan always wants to draft that running back. I know there's a damn running back in this draft that Kyle Shanahan has on his wall that he would love to go get. And if that's the case, do you really need 5 running backs now? So I could see one of these running backs being moved.
Yeah, they traded Trey Sermon like right before cut down date because they were going to cut him. And I forget what they got for him, but I think it was like
a 5th?
Nothing.
Yeah.
What was it? Was it a pick swap?
I think it was a 5th, wasn't it?
49ers trade Trey Sermon. I'd like to know. What did they get? No, they traded up for him. They traded up for him. Right. No, they claimed him off. No, they waived him. They freaking waived him, and the Eagles claimed him off waivers. Really? I believe. Yes. So I think Ty Davis Price. If they draft a running back, I think they'll waive Ty Davis Price, and they could trade Elijah Mitchell, but I think he's probably worth a 5th or a 4th, like Jeff Wilson. Maybe a little bit more than Jeff Wilson, but he's got a lot of injuries. He's had a lot of injuries. So maybe a 4th or a 5th.
They traded him. Tripping.
I know. I thought they did too, but no, he got claimed off waivers. I just feel like the Niners have so many injuries at running back. Like, if they do bring in another guy, bring them all to camp. See who's healthy, because 1 or 2 guys may get injured straight up in practice. Remember Jerick McKinnon tore his ACL in practice. See who you get. See who's healthy when it's cut down day before you start sending guys away for picks that may not make your team.
Yeah.
I'm saying.
I could see them trading one of these running backs. I could see Elijah Mitchell. But here, what I really think is going to happen, I don't think they're going to trade Kinlaw. I don't think they're going to trade running backs. But what I do think they're going to do is trade up in the draft. I don't think they're going to draft 11 players. I would be really surprised if that's what happens.
I got one. I put this on Twitter, but I think it's interesting. I think in 2021, the number 1 quarterback on the Niners draft board was Zach Wilson. I believe that. I can't prove it. Mm-hmm. But the fact that the Jets took him over the Niners and the Jets came from the Niners organization, I think they were in lockstep that guy was just a beautiful natural thrower. And I think they want to get rid of him in New York, not because he sucks at passing, but because they can't stand him as a guy. The team, the players, I think they just want that guy out of their building. If who would say no to a Trey Lance, Zach Wilson swap? I just talked about a Javon Kinlaw swap with another first-round pick, someone you could give a grass is greener type thing. Send Trey Lance to the Jets. Let him learn behind Aaron Rodgers and bring West Coast Zach Wilson over here, who's getting shredded by the New York media. You're shaking your head. I know.
It won't happen.
No, it won't happen.
No. The same reason that the Jets don't want him is the same reason the Niners won't trade for him. At least with Trey Lance, you got a good guy that's loved in the locker room that, does all the right things, says all the right things. why trade for Zach Wilson? But I do agree with you that they probably would, if they had the opportunity, they probably would have took Zach Wilson at the time. But now that they know what they know, Saleh's probably told them, everybody knows what's up with Zach Wilson.
It's just that Zach Wilson reminds me a little bit of Sam Darnold in the sense of kind of West Coast guy who's very West Coast and then goes to New York and just gets shredded for being to this and to that, just like Darnold on the same team. And then you bring him out here, it's a whole different thing. The media is not down your throat, and people kind of recognize, like, hey, you're just kind of like me. So
Zach Wilson is a small market, Grant. Look, so Zach
Chargers would be perfect.
He's from Draper, Utah. I lived in Sandy, Utah, actually, which is the town right next to it. I lived there for a couple of years. And we think of it as West Coast. It's not. It's Utah. It's a different beast out there. He needs to go to small market. Too bad Utah doesn't have a football team. That'd be perfect for him.
You know what would be a good small market for him? Arizona. But it's a crap team and franchise. Wouldn't exactly get him back on his feet. But boy, I can't think of a team with fewer fans.
Yeah, he needs to go with like a Carolina or something like that. I think that would be better for him.
Michael McCann says Niners can't trade for Lamar. His 23andMe doesn't fit the criteria for the Cabo click. Ooh. Ooh. But his wallet will make for an awkward conversation. Yeah. The Cabo click. I just feel like you can't deny that all those guys wear that same bussin' with the boys hat. Yeah. It's such a fratty thing. It's so fratty.
Yeah.
It's so fratty.
Yeah.
I was in a frat though. I was in fraternity at UCLA. I can't act like I wasn't.
Can we be honest though? What are like 75, 80% of the guests on that show have in common?
I don't watch that show.
I don't know. They're Caucasian.
Oh, okay.
There's a lot of black football players in the NFL bussing with the boys. Just so you know, you can invite a couple on every now and then.
What is bussing with? To me, that's classic, like taking a word that's not yours and like using it not knowing what it means.
I think
bussing with the boys. Whose boys?
They're on a bus. Boys? So that's what bussing means. But when I was growing up, if you said I'm bussing with the boys, we would have said that was a little suspect.
True. That's a good point. I hadn't thought of it that way. Anyway, yeah.
If they watch this shit, we're gonna be killing it. Yeah.
Also, I feel like Pat McAfee show is very much like that.
Yeah.
Bussing
with the boys, part 2.
Yeah, man, it's just
bussing with the boy.
Fraternity humor. Very fraternity-ish humor. And again, I was in a fraternity, Sigma Nu, UCLA. Shout out to all my brothers. But I never lived in it. And I don't know why I was in it to begin with. I think I wanted to party in college. That was it. I think that was it. What I learned, because it's like, there's two kind of people. There's the people that go to UCLA. I mean, they go to college and like rush right off the bat. Like fresh, fall quarter, this is my brother did it and I want to do it. And there's the people that go to school and like, I'm not going to do that. And then you try to get into the parties and have a normal social life, and they realize that like no fraternity wants you in because you're a guy and you're a freshman. So then you're like, damn. And then in the spring, you're like, okay, I'll do it. And you kind of like hold your nose and yeah. And it's like, man, that was probably a bad decision at 19 years old. Shout out to Sigma Nu, though. Shout out to Sigma Nu.
I don't think they would have let me in if I, pledged? Yeah, I don't think they would.
That's true, right? Yeah. My frat was pretty cool, though. We threw a really good party. We were like the Animal House.
There you go. Animal House.
But it was just like so hard. Like if I had lived there, I would have flunked out of school. So it was like, this is ridiculous. I can't do this.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's fraternities. Brock Purdy. I asked John Lynch. I was like, John, Brock Purdy said last week that he's not really sure, honestly, if he's going to be ready to play this year. I said, is that a scenario that you guys that's on the table, or is he just sort of taking it day by day? And he's like, yeah, that's the one. He's just being cautious and taking it day by day because it doesn't help anyone to get ahead of yourself. So again, more optimism from John Lynch, at least, that Brock Purdy is coming back on time and better than Lamar Jackson. What do you think?
Well, I think it's two things. Like it seemed a little more cautious than last time we heard from John Lynch. it seemed more in line with Kyle Shanahan's theory, right?
Yeah.
He did say in a different question, he did say they have to be prepared for anything. So he did leave the option open that it could
Yeah.
take longer than expected for Brock Purdy. But they also said that he's in line with
I also
everything.
want to, real quick, I want to point out that this quote came from an article in Yahoo. It was kind of paraphrased, but then Rob Stats Carrera followed up. Guerrera followed up with the author who had the transcript, and she did not take him out of context. She asked the question. He responded this way. She asked, like, do you know when you'll be coming back or if at all? And he said, I'm not sure, honestly. That's how it went down. So it was not misquoted. Good for her. Just want to point that out.
Yeah, I mean, everything I've been watching has shown me that all the reports, all the doctors, that Brock Purdy will be healthy around week 1, but that doesn't mean he's going to be available week 1. So that's why I had him starting on the PUP. I can imagine Brock Purdy being fully ready to play week 5. That's kind of what it seems like to me, even if everything goes perfectly. But yeah, I think he was just saying Brock was just being Brock is actually his quote, and just being cautious about what he says, not over promising anything. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, let's wrap up with Aaron Rodgers. So it's official. He's going to the Jets. What do you think this news means for the 49ers? I mean, in terms, I guess, the quarterback market, but also the NFC competition. Like, this feels like the end of the Packers as a threat to the Niners, if they even were, unless you think Jordan Love is good.
Yeah, Packers, man. I think they're going to struggle this year. That's one thing it means for the Packers, right? I think the Lions and the Bears are going to be on the top of that division. As far as the Jets, man, it could really mean good things for the Jets, I think. I know a lot of people aren't sold on or they just turned off by Aaron Rodgers' attitude, but I think Aaron Rodgers mixed with Saleh and the Jets could be a really good thing for those guys. I expect them to make the playoffs. So I think Aaron Rodgers is going to be a big plus for the Jets. It'll be interesting him in that New York media based on his kind of like personality and politics versus the New York media. I think that's going to be an interesting dynamic. But I think the Jets are going to be a factor this year for sure. I think it means the Packers got to start over. Unless Jordan Love is somebody that I'm unaware of. I know I've seen some good things from Jordan Love in recent games, but I don't know if he's going to be able to step up and fully replace an Aaron Rodgers. But what it means for the 49ers is we don't have to talk about Aaron Rodgers to the 49ers anymore. And I think with John Lynch talking about no Lamar Jackson, both those things kind of mean these are the quarterbacks we got: Trey Lance, Brock Purdy, Sam Darnold, and possibly a rookie quarterback.
Okay, I'm just looking into the compensation again. I just want to be clear. The Jets traded the 13th pick this year, 2 later round picks, and a conditional second round pick next year. Okay, in exchange for Rodgers and the 15th pick and a later round pick. So essentially, they swap picks in round 1 this year. The Jets move up 2 spots in round 1. That's it, which is like 100 points on the trade value chart, which is like a late third round pick.
Yeah.
And a conditional 2. So they essentially traded Aaron Rodgers for a late third this year and a conditional 2 next year. I mean, the Niners could have done that.
Yeah.
If they wanted to.
I don't think it would.
They had that.
I think that the Packers found themselves in a situation where they didn't really have much choice, right? Like if they didn't get something for him, they might have got nothing for him because he decided he's not going to play for the Packers this year. So they kind of were backed in the corner. I think that's why everything stalled out for a while there. You know, the Jets wanted they wanted him. The Packers wanted a lot in return, but the Jets were like, hey, man, he wants to play for us. He's not going to play for you. So they were just patient with it. And the Packers were trying to get what they could at this point. It really sets the bar kind of weird for a Hall of Fame quarterback for that amount.
Yeah, I just want to point out that the Niners could have traded for Aaron Rodgers. Maybe he didn't want to be here, but what he ended up going for, they could afford. And John Lynch said today that they're not interested in Lamar Jackson because they have Brock Purdy. So if Lamar Jackson went to the Super Bowl this year, if Aaron Rodgers went to the Super Bowl this year, you got to come back and to the Niners and be like, once again, you're not taking this position seriously. While you're looking for the next Brad Johnson, you're turning down MVPs. Literally. Two guys who have won MVPs in the NFL. You're like, we're good. We like this guy instead, man. Like, you better be right.
3.
And I get with Rodgers because I'm so tired of Rodgers, but I kind of like Lamar Jackson.
I would take them both. And I mean, you gotta forget about Tom Brady.
Yeah,
right?
that's
They're passing all that up again. They pass up Tom Brady for Jimmy Garoppolo.
Stafford.
Now they're passing up Aaron Rodgers, Lamar Jackson for Brock Purdy. It's just weird evaluation, man. Hopefully one day they're right about one of these evaluations, but they haven't been so far, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's like, what do you want at the quarterback position? Like, they keep changing their mind. It was originally like, Jimmy's good, but we need better. We need someone who transcends our system. And then that didn't work out with Trey right away, and he got hurt, and Jimmy came back, and he started playing well with Christian McCaffrey, and there was a report that the Niners were actually going to give him a long-term contract. That was like the week before he got hurt. Then he got hurt, and they saw how good Brock Purdy is, and they didn't expect that. And now all of a sudden they're being like, oh, well, we really want a cheap quarterback room. That's what's really important to us. Like, that's not what you said when you brought in Trey and you kept Jimmy for a year and you said what's important is a strong quarterback. They keep changing their story about what's important for them at the quarterback position when, frankly, they still haven't found a franchise guy. That's the important thing.
It's because they don't know.
Yeah.
That's what it is. They don't know. They want Brad Johnson or they want I don't know. They don't know what they want, obviously, because it's different every time, right? Like Trey Lance has nothing in common with Jimmy Garoppolo, right? They're all different. Like Kirk Cousins is a different type of guy. Like there's no outline for what kind of quarterback Kyle Shanahan wants because he seems to draft different kinds of guys.
We don't know. Do you want Trey Lance, Josh Allen? Are you shooting for the fences? In which case, why weren't you interested in Patrick Mahomes? Why aren't you interested in Lamar Jackson and Aaron Rodgers right now? Or did you want Mac Jones? Did you trade up for Mac Jones? Did the fan base revolt? Did a lot of people call you racist? Did your owner call you into the office and be like, dude, this is going to make us look really bad. We can't take Mac Jones. Is there anyone else you like? Was Trey Lance your second choice? Because if he was, wouldn't it explain everything? I mean, if you never, your heart is never in your second choice. And I feel like the Niners have never had their heart into this project, which doesn't make any sense. It's like you traded everything. You spent 3 years worth of first round picks. You're drafting him again in 4 days. And you always acted like, I mean, would you give up on your first choice after 4 starts? Would the Niners have given up on Mac Jones after 4 starts if he didn't start 4-0? If he was 2-2 after 4 starts, would the Niners have given up on Mac? You see what I'm saying? That's why I feel like I feel so bad for Trey being here, man. He needs to go to a team that really, really, really believes in him. And I wonder if that team even exists after what the Niners have done to his career.
And here's the thing is, why would you trade 3 first-round draft picks and a third, or trade 2, spend 3 and a third for your second choice? Like, none of it makes.
Why?
If it was his second choice, why the hell would you do that?
Because you traded it up, you thinking you were going to get Mac Jones, and then over the next month, the noise got louder and louder and louder. Jed buckled. And the whole organization buckled, like, look, we don't want to be looked at as racists. I mean, and also it wasn't just that. It was the fact that you traded up from 12 to 3 for a quarterback who ended up going 15th. Like, forget race. The trading up for Mac Jones was dumb. You could have stayed at 12 for Mac Jones. Yeah, all of that looked incompetent, and it looked scandalous to take that guy, and I think the Niners were going to do it. And I think at the end they were like, you know what? Fine. We won't. We'll go with our second choice. And anytime, imagine if you say to your parents, I want to date this girl, and they're like, no, for whatever reason. No, you can't. It's going to make our family look bad. Choose anyone else. Man, your heart isn't in that. You're looking for a reason to break up with the next girl. And I feel like that could have happened. And in which case, man, I feel bad for that next girl, and I feel bad for Trey because that's your own problem with your own family. You got to work out. Work it out.
I hope that's not what happened. I also think that a lot of what's going on is John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan have never really seen eye to eye on what they want from a quarterback. And maybe possibly both of them, neither one really know. Neither one really know, but they disagree. Right? They think I have a
simple explanation.
Yeah.
Evaluating quarterbacks is really hard and neither one's good at it.
Yeah.
It's really hard.
Definitely possible.
I suck at it. I tell you right now. I mean, look at the guys I like. I love Kellen Mond. I love Kyle Trask. I love Trey Lance. I mean, I suck at it. It's super freaking hard. I think they may not be that good at it either. How about that? And then what's even harder, once you've identified the guy, which they can't seem to do, otherwise they would have drafted Patrick Mahomes, developing him, actually coaching and teaching the position, not just giving him a scheme and players. That's one thing, but actually teaching how to do all the little techniques that are required to play it. That is really hard too. Walsh could do both.
Isn't Steve Slowick the guy who got Purdy, right? And Steve's now with Houston.
No. The scout found him. Bobby Slowick, they're brothers. Scout.
Okay.
I think Steve's still here in scouting capacity.
Okay, so Bobby Slowick's the one. Okay. Do you think
Big Bob,
Steve might be helping out Bobby in Houston with who they're going to be picking?
How do you call up your brother and say like, "Hey man, who should I take?" But I can't tell you, bro. Sorry, you're the enemy now. Click.
Yeah. It'd be interesting. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see who they pick.
It shall be interesting. It is Monday. On Thursday will be round one. John Lynch says he doesn't anticipate doing much, but he also laughed and touched his face. So you never really know with John Lynch when he's bluffing. Ryan, thank you very much for coming on the show today, man.
My pleasure, sir. Yeah.
That's how we do.
I saw
next time we do it, it'll be in the morning.
We'll
be talking about the draft.
Comment section got a little hyphy, to use an old word.
So. You know, we got to make them hyphy every once in a while. Got to. All right, Ryan. Yeah. Peace, man. All right. Now we got Larry Krueger. The show must go on back to back. What's up, Larry?
Long time no see. What's up, man?
Yeah, Larry. Good. Larry was down there today. He was in all the interviews. And it wasn't just John Lynch who spoke. It was Christian McCaffrey. It was Fred Warner, Eric Armstead, and Jake Brendel, the voice of the offense. First question I want to ask you is
I'm not taking any questions today.
Please. I got an hour to fill. All right. I want to ask you about Trey Lance. I mean, what was your read on what John Lynch said? Is there a market for Trey? Are they not interested in trading Trey? How do you read this?
It was really interesting. I mean, I thought it was interesting on a lot of fronts. One, that he said that, he's usually not very transparent with the players, but with Trey, he is. They've had talks. He's told them where he sits.
Yeah.
So that's kind of interesting because that kind of puts Trey's comments of, hey, man, I just want to compete in kind of perspective, because it almost kind of makes you think that maybe they've told him, hey, Brock's our guy, and we're going forward with Brock. And maybe that him saying, I just want to compete, is maybe he doesn't feel like he's going to get that opportunity to compete. I don't know. It's kind of a weird thing. But to me, I guess the takeaway was I expect Trey to be here. On the surface, definitely sounds like Trey's going to be here. But then you're the GM, so that's like you're the one who you could actually guarantee it. But he didn't guarantee it. And you would think, well, maybe that's just the way Lynch talks. But in the same presser that he didn't guarantee that Lance would be here, he did guarantee, I thought, that Bosa and Aiyuk would be here. So he's capable of making guarantees. He just left it open-ended. So I guess my read on it, Grant, is that the Niners, you can come get Trey Lance. He's available if you pay their price. But none of us know what that price is. And we're going to find out, I guess, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, what that price is and if somebody's willing to pay it, right?
I mean, let me try to guess what the price is. To me, a team could offer a conditional pick next year. Look, we're not going to offer you a first-round pick this year, but we'll offer you a conditional pick that could become a first-round pick next year based on playing time and yada, yada, yada. But does that help the Niners? Like, they're trying to win a Super Bowl this year. And I don't know that that's something. I think they might prefer a pick this year. Okay, so let's talk about that. What's the most they could get this year? Could they get a second-round pick this year? I think if a team offered them a second-round pick right now, I think they take it, which to me says he ain't worth the second-round pick this year. And so let's say a team would offer him a third-round pick, and I'm skeptical that would even happen. But let's say they do offer the Niners a third-round pick on draft night. Is that the difference between them winning a Super Bowl or not next year? Pick 84?
Yeah, no. I don't know.
No,
I mean, it could
not
be if it was Russ, if you drafted the right guy. But yeah, I mean,
you already have 3/3.
Yeah,
now you got 4. Okay, here we go. Super Bowl. There you go. 4 thirds. 3 wasn't enough. Yeah,
here's the question. People will say this a lot. You can't trade Trey because look how many quarterbacks you went through, and you don't know about Brock. Yeah, but that's the assumption that you think Trey is ready to play. If you think Trey is not ready to play, maybe there's a quarterback in this draft. I mean, the two guys that I keep hearing them linked to are DTR and Jake Haener. They both have a ton of experience. They both are more
I call BS
experienced.
on DTR. The day that Kyle Shanahan drafts a quarterback from a spread offense, no, it's not going to happen. I'm sure they love him. Whatever reason, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Otherwise, they would have drafted Justin Fields.
Well, I mean, the only thing is DTR did come off his best year. I mean, he was really good this last year.
I love him.
UCLA.
I think he's this year's Jalen Hurts, but they didn't want Jalen Hurts.
You know, and John Lynch kind of hinted to or said, hey, you know, we were doing our due diligence. We're just doing our due diligence. He was trying to play down their interest in the rookie quarterbacks. But if you're interested in a guy like Haener or Clayton Tune or just anybody who you think's like played a lot of football and is ready to play, maybe if they're all in on winning this year, maybe they're going to prioritize this year over the future to an extreme. And if they were going to do that, I guess you could see a world where you could technically trade Trey for a draft pick that you turn into Jake Haener and say that you're improving in the present and, you know, I mean, and not the future. I mean, I don't know. I think it's the one thing about Lynch on this is that Lynch has come out and said that Trey needs to play. And then they created a scenario where Trey's not going to play. So It's like, you know, so I don't, you know, he needs to play, but then, hey, Brock's our guy and Sam Darnold's is here and Kyle's describing him like he's awesome. So it's like, well, wait a second. Him needing to play seemed like, yeah, of course he needs to play. And lucky you got plenty of time to give to the quarterback. But now they've created this kind of situation where is he going to get a chance to play? So I get the feeling he's still going to get moved on draft day, despite what was said today.
See, I don't, because I just don't think a team's going to give him a second. And like, if it's a third, again, like a team is thinking.
Houston has 2/3 though. Houston could say, "Hey, we'll give you our second," or which would be a great pick, almost like a late first round pick. Or they could say, "I'll give you 2/3."
What you're saying is the Niners would trade him for a third and then draft a quarterback. So what that team could do is, well, why don't they just take the quarterback? Why doesn't Houston just take Haener? Why doesn't Houston take DTR? Because that guy, he'll be cheaper. I mean, I think Lance will be up $5 million a year. This guy will be $1 million. He'll have 4 years on his deal as opposed to Lance 2, no broken ankle. And it's like also Houston is supposed to have a different opinion of Trey Lance than the 49ers. They came from the 49ers.
Right.
Maybe they feel the exact same way.
They could feel exactly the same way. Oh, the only thing I would say is that you could say that you could make an argument that Trey Lance, because of his pedigree and because of his athleticism, has higher value or higher level of future than Tanner McKee, Jake Haener, Max Duggan, the guys who DTR. If you said to me who's a better prospect, Lance or those guys, I would say long-term Lance. Short-term, I might go with like Tune or Haener.
If the Niners are looking for the next Brock Purdy, which of course they are, it's Jake Haener. And I'm not saying Jake Haener's as good as Brock Purdy, but if there is a next, quote unquote, next Brock Purdy in this draft, it's Haener. If that's what you're looking for, you're going to look at Haener and be like, yup, he could excel in our offense too. The thing about Haener is he's not nearly as mobile as Purdy. That's the way I look at it. As far as his arm goes, I think his arm talent is comparable to Purdy's.
To me, there's 3 guys that are Purdy-like in this draft. Haener, 6 feet, 207 pounds. I think he's got a little bit better arm than Purdy, I think, but not as good a mobility. Then you have Jaron Hall from BYU, who I don't think is as good an arm as Purdy. He's a little bit lesser of an arm,
but he's mobile.
But he's got great mobility. And then there's Tune from Houston, who I think might be the best of all of them. I think he might be
got
their
a little size, got a little speed, got a little experience.
He's 220. He's played a lot. He's been the captain.
He's thrown a lot.
Done, now, but he also is coming out of a spread system. So
I'm telling you, Kyle will never do it. That is my one prediction about Kyle. Like, he won't say it, Mike won't say it, but they are definitely looking at specific scheme quarterbacks, which is a problem, especially in 2023 when college football is moving towards spread offense. I mean, every year more and more teams, good teams with 5-star recruits are doing that. And I feel like more and more teams in the NFL are sort of adapting their offenses to that style, like Indy, Philly. I'm just saying, you don't want to be,
I hear, the only thing I'm trying to think about this logically, all I'll say about the Trey thing is this. if they're not wanting to move him and this is their way to develop him, I got to really question the wisdom of it. You're not really saying anything positive about the kid. You're kind of almost, I mean, it's almost like you're saying last year we gave you something you didn't deserve. This year we're not giving you jack.
Right.
And if you get it, you're going to get it on your own. We're not going to give you anything. And it's like, okay, but isn't he still your asset that you're trying to develop?
Yeah.
Isn't he still valuable?
Don't you want to put your arms around him and pump up his confidence?
Yeah,
because considering how much you've ruined it. I mean, come on.
Your development plan to like tell him to ice him going into the draft weekend and maybe it's all big boy stuff where they've said to him. John said they've been transparent. Maybe they went to him and said, "Hey, Trey, here's the reality. You know,
we like Brock. We like Brock more than Lamar Jackson. So yeah, we like Brock a whole lot more than you.
Yeah. So we like Brock. We're going with Brock. And
we're going Brock.
And you know what? Do you want to be here? And you know what? I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, Grant, would not be the first time if the player comes out and says, "Hey, I want to be here. I absolutely want to be here, and I'm just going to work like crazy." But while at the same time, his agent's saying, "We don't want to be here." So
true. I did ask John point blank, have the agents call, and he said no flat. So maybe that's a call that happens in August. You know, because from the agent's perspective, there may not be nothing to talk about now. Brock's got one arm, and Sam Darnold's learning the offense. So you could relax and see what happens in July and August, and then make that call at that point.
It is a weird world that we're in, that multiple football insiders are openly stating that Sam Darnold, who all of us have seen really fail repeatedly, is somehow going to win the starting quarterback job away from Trey Lance this summer, where if you ask me who would win that, I'm going with Trey Lance all day and every day.
Let me tell you something. Jordan Palmer, Vish pointed this out to me. Vish, legend, pointed out that Jordan Palmer was recently on a podcast, and he was talking about Trey Lance, and he was asked about Trey Lance, and he basically said, well, you know, Lance is in a really good organization with a good team and good coaches. He says, you know, Sam Darnold never has been, and he's going to be the Niners starting quarterback this year, and now he's going to be in an organization that's good. It was like, wait, slow down, Jordan. What did you just say? And like, if you don't know who Jordan Palmer is, he's Carson Palmer's brother, and he's a very, very respected quarterback tutor or like, you know, coach. And he has worked one-on-one with Sam Darnold for years. They are very close. So for him to say that so casually with a lot of other insiders saying the exact same thing, it makes you wonder what the hell the Niners are telling people off the record, like, hey, look, it's possible Brock starts on PUP. And, you know, we don't really have that much confidence in Trey, but we love Brock. We love Sam Darnold. We really love Sam Darnold. He's never been on a team like this before. Watch what happens. Watch what Kyle can do for him. Watch what... I'm just saying. So, what do you think of Jordan Palmer?
I mean, or is it possible that that somehow on some level they've worked out a deal that they're not telling us about? They don't want to reveal. I don't know, because it doesn't. Another thing that just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Why would why? So why would you talk up Sam Darnold? Why? I mean, even if you love Sam Darnold, why would you talk him up? Why wouldn't you just wait and see it all play out?
Right. What is the point of talking up Sam Darnold? Why?
Well, one guy you've invested a ton in, and he's a young kid who probably needs to be brought along. And you're basically going to just say, he's coming along and he'll be competing, and he's just focusing on competing. Where with Sam Darnold, it's like he's got as good a skill set as I've ever seen. He's I mean, when he's open,
it's almost like saying, hey, forget Trey Lance. Like, don't stop thinking about Trey Lance. If I could have drafted Sam Darnold ahead of Trey Lance, I would have. This is the guy I can't believe we got. He just fell in our lap. Like, that's what they're trying to say.
Or you get some kid in your class who's like a great prodigy, and he's like a clear A student, but he hasn't been in your class. And you got some proven C+ student sitting right there, and you're like, hey, this C+ student's got talent. This guy's got ability. This guy's got desire.
Yeah.
No, he's a
Watch him get this C+.
Student.
Watch him get this C+.
Yeah, exactly.
It's going to be so good. Yeah, I'm with you on that. Yeah.
Exactly. It's hard to...
No, but I think there's something here, man. There's too much smoke.
I mean, you're John Lynch. You know how much speculation there is. You know that it's the quarterback is the leader of your football team. If you wanted the speculation to end because there's nothing to it, you just say, hey, guys, it ain't going to happen. Trey's going to be here. He ain't going to be anywhere else. We're super excited. And so you guys are going down the wrong path with the whole line of questioning. Instead, it's like really measured. I expect Trey to be here. I mean, I expect Trey to be. I know I'm parsing words, and people would say, "Crew, get a life," the whole deal. I get it, but it's just you have the ability to say and end all speculation. Trey's going to be here, but instead, it's like,
would you agree with this?
I don't know.
To me, when the Ian Rappaport report came out last week, to me that was the Niners sending a Hail Mary saying, "Hey, NFL, we tried to tell you at the NFL annual meetings when we said Brock's our guy, but no one called us about Trey. So, hey, the draft's in a week. We're fielding call us about Trey." And maybe a couple teams called and they're like, "So what do you want?" And then I just like a second and they're like, and that was it. And so now John's like, "Yeah, man, I really don't see us trading Trey because no one's interested." That's how I read it.
Also, if you've asked somebody for a high second round pick, you may know that you're willing to, and they're offering you 2/3. You may know when it comes time to it, push comes to shove, when the clock's ticking, that you'll take those 2/3 today. So you know that you're going to potentially make a trade, but you're not getting.
If there's been an offer,
but you
and we'll say, "Hey, yeah, we'll come back to you. We'll call you."
It's like you got offered something that you would do a trade for. Let's say the Texans called and said, "Hey, we want him, but we don't want to give you that high second. We'll give you the 2/3." You say, no, I need that high second because I want somebody real significant. No, we're offering the 2/3. And then now you're going to come back in this press conference and be like, we're not getting what today it sounded like he's available if you want him, but we're not getting the offers that we want. But it also, you got to think of it logically. Trey Lance is not every team's first choice. He might be some team's second choice. It might be some team's third choice. It might be some team's choice if they make a certain pick or if the draft falls a certain way. So a lot of these things are conditional. So I bet you most of the teams that have interest have like kind of conditional interest. And Lynch and Shanahan are the only ones who know if there's an offer that they think they can get. I'll say this, though. At the end of the day, I have Trey ranked somewhere between Hendon Hooker and Tanner McKee. I could see where you could argue Hendon Hooker's better, but I would rather have Trey Lance. But that Hendon Hooker may go 20 and Tanner McKee go 40. And there's a big divide there between when the next quarterback's like going to go in the third round, Jake Haener. Any of those people who need a quarterback in there who call up and say, "Hey, we'll give you our pick for Trey Lance." If you're the 49ers, I think you're doing that. But you're not sitting there going, "We got a deal in place," because you don't. But you may know you'd take any pick in the second round. And who knows, maybe any pick in the third round. You don't know what they're willing to take at this point for Trey. We don't know how eager they are to move on.
Larry, 100% of Trey Lance's value, whatever that is at this point, comes from 2019. Do you understand how long ago that was? In 2019,
he's a speculative prospect.
2019, I didn't have a YouTube channel. I was posting podcasts on. I was living in an apartment. I had no Kia Stinger. I was broke. I mean, my whole life has changed. That was a long time ago, 2019. Nah, man. I mean, now after what the Niners have done to him and what he's been through, I just don't think. I think most likely, if there were some calls, there were no offers. There might have been a conversation. I bet you the Niners have had 0 offers for Trey Lance. That's what I think.
But
0.
Don't you think? Like if I'm the Texans, why offer anything right now for Trey Lance? You got 2 picks in the first round.
See how the draft goes. Yeah, see how the draft goes.
You go defense at 2 or 3, whatever. They're at 2, and then I think they're at 12 or something. You see who's there at 12. If there's a quarterback you want, if not, you go defense again. And then you just kind of play it as it comes. By the time the Texans get down to 30, 32, 33 for round 2, they may say, "Hey, you know what? This is a pick we can move for Trey Lance." I don't think so. My guess is that from looking at the Bleacher Report projected trades, they were all like 3rd, 4th, and 5th round picks. My guess is that's where Trey's value is in the eye of the rest of the NFL. Like, he's probably worth a 3rd round pick. The question is, are the Niners willing to take a 3rd round pick for him?
You could say they should be willing to. You could say they should, but I don't think they are.
I don't think they are.
Yeah. So I guess, look, we'll see what happens on draft night. It's possible that there are, let's say, 8 quarterbacks who will go in the top 3 rounds. That could be generous. And maybe there's 9 teams that want to draft quarterbacks in the top 3 rounds, and whichever team loses that game of musical chairs, calls the Niners up and makes a deal for Trey. I think that's it. That is the Hail Mary hope here for the 49ers, and I think, frankly, I would like to see, I hope they don't trade him because I don't think whatever they get back is going to move the needle this year. And I'd like to see what Trey Lance looks like with Christian McCaffrey before. I'd like to see Trey Lance start like a few more games before we say that he's for sure a failed bust. Because to me, I mean, he's 2-2 as a starter. Like, you could say Zach Wilson is a freaking bust way before you could say Trey Lance is, but that's just me. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
I know. And there's so many options, and we don't know how they have them evaluated. I will say this, though. If this is like some master plan to motivate him, I think the plan sucks. I think the plan sucks. I think
most of their quarterback plans suck. Fish and Chips say, again, talking about players while Kid Kyle escapes. I really think that the Niners like the quarterback drama because it's like we can't not talk about it. Like once there's a quarterback drama, that's all you could talk about. And so you don't complain about the coach or
the only thing that gets me is the people that are like, you guys are just parking your car there because you got nothing to talk about. And it's like, hey, they could have ended this discussion at the combine, didn't. The owners meeting didn't. They've had many opportunities along the way.
What Lynch essentially said today was,
Trey's our guy, man. We invested. Here's the answer that all you got to. Hey, what's the status of Trey? I realize, guys, why you're asking because he's gone through a rough couple of years with the injuries and the and that stop and starts. But hey, you know what? We still love the kid. We think he's still super special. He's going to be great. And he's going to be great in a Niner uniform.
Yeah.
And you guys, we can't wait to see his future.
Brock was great, but you know what?
Excited. Jed's excited.
Yeah, but they don't do that.
Instead, we're getting, he's on the team right now. I expect Trey to be here. With Aiyuk, you're like, key cog. He's not going anywhere. We're going for it this
we don't
year.
Even. That hotline's closed.
Hotline's closed. We're not taking that call. He's here, man. Whoo, But with Trey, they're not going that far. So obviously they got a price. Only they know what it is. They're obviously they're trying to get as high a pick as they can. The question is, what's the lowest pick that the 49ers would take and move Trey Lance? I think it's probably Houston's 2/3. There would have to be Houston's the team that makes the most sense. I think Houston's 2/3. It would probably be the lowest.
Fans would flip out. Fans would flip out. If there's not a second round pick in the package, fans will flip out, and Jed's not going to let it happen. It's not going to happen.
That's true.
I bet you have a lot of side bets going, but he's not getting traded for a third round pick. I don't think it. I think you're going to lose that bet to Ryan.
2/3?
Nah, nope. I don't think it's going to happen. Man, you could say they should take it because honestly, if they wait, that price could go down. If he doesn't win this job, if he sits another year, you could cut him next year. So they might think about it, but I don't think they'll do it. But that's my prediction.
Seems like it seems awfully. If this is how they motivate their
you got skin in the game. You got a bet down, man. You got skin in the game. You're hoping to win, and I understand. But I don't have a bet down. Jordan says Larry's still reaching that narrative that he's got skin in the game. I understand. When I place bets, I want to win too. Elias says Niners had to choose between developing Lance or going after the Lombardi. Purdy, more of sure thing trade rumors, purely testing market for Lance. It's clear that the Niners don't want to go through any growing process for Trey Lance, which is why I wonder why they drafted him in the first place. Like, what did you think you were getting? A finished product? Really? Because the rest of the league said he was a project. 808 Niners says the only thing.
One thing I'll say is that the only thing, because it's like weird, right? Last year they were all on Lance. This year they're not. What's changed?
What happened?
What's changed, I think, is Purdy has arrived. And then the other thing is, and they believe in him, obviously. But then the other thing I think is just they're looking at Trey and they're saying, you know what? We think he's going to be good. But I think the Niners view their timeline like there's a ton of urgency about this year. And I think that's motivating them to listen to offers for Trey, is that they look at him as not this year. They look at him as a long-term play. And so I think they want to see if they can get value.
Also, he was someone they were supposed to have developed for this year, but they botched that, and they can't undo what they did. 808 Niners says the only thing we know about Brock Purdy is that he's better than Jimmy. If you get rid of Trey and all you got is Sam and a rookie because nobody knows if when Brock Purdy returns. What up, Larry? Warriors in 6, F the beam. That's what I'm saying. I mean, the Niners, again, John Lynch said today they're not interested in Lamar Jackson because that's how much they like Brock Purdy. Like, dude, slow down. You got Brock Purdy. He's a great backup for you. You got him for 3 more years. Why is the search over? Why are you doing this? Keep looking. Keep looking. It couldn't hurt.
They're all in on Brock.
Such
every time they have an opportunity to say so, they do.
Such a mistake. Battle Beast 19 says Larry on draft night. Crickets. Nah, Larry won't be cricket. Larry's going to be working draft night.
I'll be there.
That's right. Papa Phil says, first super chat. Thank you, Grant, for all that you do. Thank you, Papa Phil. Elias Soto says, Niners hoping for a Geno Smith revive for Darnold or breakout for Lance. QB comp for first few games if Purdy can't start the first few weeks. I would agree. I think the Niners feel that Darnold is Alex Smith, and he's been in bad situations, bad franchises, and that this is the first time he's on a good team with a competent coach, and let's see what happens. I think that's what they're thinking. And they might be right.
If we get that competition, I'd be shocked if Darnold beat out Lance. I really would.
I don't know about that. And I'm a Lance guy.
You think Lance is that raw?
Yeah, he is that raw. And the whole thing with Lance, when you drafted him and you traded up, you were supposed to go into it with your eyes wide open, knowing what he is, knowing what it would take. And the Niners draft him, and they're like, wait a second, he's raw. This is raw. Like, what? It was on the menu, not cooked. Completely raw. And then I was like, wait a second. Can I talk to the chef? This isn't even cooked at all. Like, yeah, man, you got to read. It's called reading. I'm sorry. Niners all in.
Half-baked pizza. Have you heard the concept?
Yes. Yeah, don't tell me you're freaking surprised by this. Remilia Sports Report says Niners all in. Kyle still not in the hot seat year 7. Hey, man, it's an interesting team around here. They're in the mix. All Niners says, join late. I'm sure you covered this, but Salah's going all in with that trade, making Kyle look bad. I do think it's interesting that freaking Robert Saleh got an MVP quarterback before Kyle. I didn't see that coming. Fish and Chips says Purdy arm, Trey ankle recovery, and Sam's brain. It's like the Wizard of Oz. Super funny. A heart, a brain. Sorry. Papa Phil says the Niners ended a while ago. You're watching Santa Clara Broncos. Trey Area stand up. Ooh, because of the Shanahans? The Santa Clara Shanahans. Santa Clara Shanahans. Okay.
Remember when Santa Clara had a football team?
Christian McCaffrey spoke today. I asked Christian McCaffrey about Sam Darnold because I knew what Christian would say. I knew where this was going. They went to the Warriors game together. They're friends. They played together for 2 years. I said, Christian, what kind of quarterback are the Niners getting in Sam Darnold? And he was just, guys, he just went on and on and on about how tough he is and professional and talented and gifted and everything. What did you think of how Christian McCaffrey, like literally the leader and alpha on this offense, gushed over the Niners' third string quarterback?
He loves him.
Loves him.
Loves him. It's amazing. Sam Darnold must be just an awesome guy, or he like buys every beer. You know what I mean?
He still got his.
I got you, bro. I got you. Yeah,
he still got his signing bonus from 2018, and he's absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, he's either buying everybody beer, or he's just the world's greatest guy. Because he glowed about him, and he's confident. And he's this and he's that, and it's amazing. And Kyle talks him up. Christian talks him up. He's a very popular guy, this Sam Darnold.
Absolutely. And I think this is another thing that's working against Trey Lance in this competition is like, I don't think anyone on this team has those feelings for him. I mean, the organization brought him in to replace their friend in Jimmy Garoppolo. And that's not Trey's fault, but that always was working against him. And he hasn't played. So no one on the team can say anything confidently about what he is, what he does, blah, 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 blah. Sam has played like 50-something games. And what I think a lot of players feel is he got screwed. He played for terrible teams, terrible coaches, Adam Gase, Matt Rule, never complained, always got scapegoated. And I think people feel for him. And now they're rooting for him. And they don't look at Trey Lance as being in that situation. Like, he was on the best team. He was in a great situation, and he wasn't ready for it. I think that's kind of how they look at it. So you already have the alpha on the offense in Sam's corner. How long until it's Juszczyk 2? How long until it's Kittle 2?
I'm glad they believe in him. I mean, what's the alternative? Oh, they don't believe in him. So I'm glad they believe in him. But
the tepid praise they give Trey, he's a good guy. When they don't believe in a quarterback, when they talk about his personality, he's such a good guy. That's not what they say about Sam. No. It's scary.
Though, and Sam's numbers in that last game that you put out on Twitter a few weeks ago was like, that was a horrendous game. So but I'll say this, his highlight reel, if you just Google Sam Darnold 2022, you'll see a number of really interesting plays where he shows arm strength, he shows mobility, he's got size.
Yeah.
He played, his highlight reel looks good.
Yeah.
But so why is he throwing all these picks? And why he threw a bunch of picks at SC too? So it wasn't like he
threw a bunch of picks when he played with McCaffrey.
Right.
He played with McCaffrey already. He still sucked.
It's amazing.
I'm sorry.
They love him. They love him though. They're talking him up.
I actually think that Kyle thinks that Darnold can do as much or more than Purdy, and I think he wants to prove it, and I think he's going to be so wrong. But you're right. I think he feels like, look, on this team, as long as Darnold just manages the game and doesn't turn the ball over, he can do everything that Purdy can do and more. He can push the ball down the field better. He's bigger. Yeah, but he's a walking turnover, and he's been that since college. Like, you really think that's going to change here because you're giving him McCaffrey, who he's already played with? I call BS.
I would just love to see Trey Lance be able to run the same offense that Purdy got to run, that Jimmy gets to run, instead of just quarterback power runs and like, oh, well, we're going to run them. How about just
pocket movement, off play action,
shallow
please.
crossers, dump it to the flat, give him some options, take some shot plays. Don't just, I'd like to see what Trey looks like in an offense that didn't ask him to run, that just allowed him to scramble. Because to me,
hand off and throw like a quarterback. I mean, he's only averaging 4 yards a carry, 4.4 yards per carry. Like, you got 7 guys on the team that'll give you more than that. So let him hand off, because it does seem like defenses are concerned about him running. So good, let him hand off. Let him make life easier for the running backs, and then let him do play action on pocket movement left and right. That's what you do for Brock. I mean, look, the way I look at Brock is that out of the shotgun, he's good, but he's a little small and his arm's a little limited. On play action, he's great because you can move him all over the place. He's so quick. He's a really, really, really good play action quarterback, which makes him a great fit for this team. I think Trey can be a good play action quarterback too. It's just he's always in the shotgun running the zone read. Just saying.
I would, to me, the Atlanta game last year was a perfect example of, I think, what Trey potentially could be. Look what Mariota was. Look how much pressure that Mariota's presence and those totally mediocre running backs put on that Niner front. You never knew
they were on their heels the whole game.
Yeah, they played ball, but see, that's the kind of offense they. It's not necessarily an explosive offense. It's a run heavy. Ball control,
right?
Run your quarterback on 3rd and 1, kind of an offense. Keep the chains moving, dominate time of possession. There's nothing wrong with that, though. I mean, you can win.
Keep your quarterback out of obvious passing situations, like on 3rd and 7. That could be a run, and that's how the Eagles are too. Like, they never ever put Jalen Hurts in a situation where he knows he's throwing, because they're always winning. They run on 3rd down. They go for it on 4th down. They're the best offensive line in the league. That makes his job a lot easier. I'm still a little skeptical. I like Jalen Hurts a lot, but they just made him the highest paid player of all time. Like, is he that great, or do they do a good job of accentuating all his strengths?
Staying ahead of the chains.
Yeah, all of that stuff.
He's always got play action at his disposal and all kinds of play fakes. But yeah, I mean, it's effective, and they're winning games, and they went to the Super Bowl. And you kind of wonder, you look at Trey and go, wait a second, he could do all that. All that.
Same with Justin Fields.
Yeah.
Same with Anthony Richardson. Like, it's interesting because I feel like with Trey, he has to learn this whole offense. It's a whole new language. It's so hard to play, especially if you haven't done anything like this before. Brock has. I just feels like what they do in Philly is easy as hell. It's just college offense.
I think Shanahan's prioritizing. You have to be able to take the layups in the passing game that you get, and Trey, in his mind, probably doesn't take those layups. Or doesn't make.
Then you misevaluated him. Then you misevaluated. I wanted to ask John today, but we got cut off. I was going to try to get the last question. Did you misevaluate Trey, or did he not improve at the rate that you thought he would? Because something happened. What was it? Was it one of those two? What did you miss? Is he not as athletic as you thought? Is he not as good of a thrower as you thought? Or did you think he'd make more strides by now? Because it had to be one of the two, right?
You know what I think, and that conversation is not one that question is not one he's going to entertain on any real level, as long as Trey is wearing a 49er uniform. Yeah, when he's not on the team, he would address that. I think if he was being totally honest, and it's a fair question, I think the answer is this, is that they have dialed up the urgency on their Super Bowl window with this group, with Trent and Kittle and Bosa, to they can see the end and they know they've got like this year and next year and that's it. And so they're looking at Trey going, you know what? We think it's going to take a year or two and we only have a year or two left. And so I think nothing has happened with Trey. They don't feel any differently about Trey. I just think that they're looking at Brock and they're looking at their window and they're saying Brock fits our window better than Trey's development fits our window. We're all in with Brock and we'll entertain a deal for Trey. Now the only question is, what are they willing to take? You know,
it just feels like an epiphany they should have had before they traded up to the third pick. I mean, it's just, we're supposed to give them a pat on the back because they realized that their timeline didn't match up with Trey's. Like, I really could have told you that more than 2 years ago. And when they traded up and were considering Trey, I think that was the biggest like, hold on, you're telling me this win now team really has the time and the bandwidth to get him up to speed? I don't see it. But I mean, when they did it, I was like, wow, well, God love them. They must have a plan. And the plan was sit him for a year. That didn't work. I mean, this whole epiphany feels like 2 years too late.
They were never, in my opinion, they were never committed to the rookie growing pains. They were only committed to the advantages of the rookie contract. So, like, they wanted a quarterback on a rookie contract. Lynch said it again today when he was asked about Lamar. He's like, hey, we built this team in a certain way.
Then they should have drafted Davis Mills in round 3.
We built this team thinking that we have to have a rookie quarterback or a quarterback on a rookie deal. So that was their commitment. I don't think they were ever truly committed to taking the lumps that most rookie quarterbacks take in this league.
They made him so expensive by trading up, and it's like, you can't trade up for a project. Like, whoever takes Anthony Richardson better not trade up for him. That's a guy who just falls to you, and you're like, hey, like the Seahawks. The Seahawks have 2 first-round picks this year. If he just happens to fall to him and one of them, they can be like, hey, man, I mean, we didn't even plan to have this pick. He's here. Who cares? Like, great. But you trade 3 first-round picks to move up to something. Like, everyone, every day, national, locals, like, so what's up with Trey? What's up with Trey? What's up with Trey? Is he ready? Is he ready? Is he ready? First, oh, he's not ready. You fucked up. Whoa, my God. Like, and that's what happened to him. You created this level of scrutiny, and I think it was probably a mistake. Probably a mistake. What do you think was going to happen?
I just think it's like one of those things where they love the idea of getting a young quarterback on a rookie deal that they could build around and win with. But I don't think they were ever really committed to losing for any period of time. And as they kept putting off his debut, and then all of a sudden the urgency to win has gotten greater and greater. Now they're at a point where they're like, hey, man, it is time for us to win a Super Bowl. And over here, you got a quarterback that may take half a year to a year and a half to 2 years to 2.5 years. We don't know how long, but somewhere in that window, he needs some time to develop. I
just don't buy that, though, Larry.
I don't buy that. They got Brock.
I don't buy that narrative that all they wanted was a quarterback on a rookie deal. Because if that's all they wanted, you don't move up to 3. You stay at 12 and you take Mac Jones, or you freaking take Davis Mills in round 3. Because what they've seen now is they can get quarterbacks in round 7 who fit their scheme and win.
But here's the one difference. The one difference is I think when they saw Mahomes and Allen Grant, they saw
that's correct.
Those guys had high level movement ability. So I don't think they ever really wanted a Mac Jones. I could be wrong about that, but I think they saw that you got to be able to play from the pocket, but you have to have off schedule movement ability. And then they have that with Brock Purdy. They have a guy who can move incredibly well. Now, the question is...
But he can't push the ball down the field like those other top quarterbacks.
What's his high-end ability? What does he look like off this surgery? Right. That's the big question, too.
Because, I mean, like, short, intermediate, moving, he's all good, but he doesn't... He might have completed one pass that traveled more than 30 yards or 35 yards in the air. He hit the one to Kittle down the middle. He might have had 1 or 2 more. But I think everything else is a little bit 30 yards and in, 25 yards and in. And over the long haul, our defense is going to squeeze him. I don't know. I feel like most of the great quarterbacks, I mean, can air it out when they have to, just to keep you honest.
I don't know. I mean, did you feel like what we were seeing last year wasn't legit? I thought it was totally legit.
He's on the best team in the league. And I mean,
he
definitely won a bunch of games.
Timing and
he
tempo
did. He did. Nick Foles won a Super Bowl on the Eagles, man.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
He got
hot. Purdy got hot.
Well, I don't know if my whole thing is if you go watch the Purdy Iowa State film, he looked a little bit like that. If
you put Purdy on, let's say, the Jets last year, what would have happened? You put Purdy on the Cardinals last year, what would have happened? Like, I think he played great last year. Jimmy played great last year when they got Christian McCaffrey. It's a great team. It's a great team. And I have questions about Hurts too. I still think Hurts is much better than Purdy. You could disagree with that, but Hurts is on the best team in the NFC. No weaknesses on that team, and the scheme sets him up. Like, Purdy's in the same freaking situation, and Foles won a Super Bowl in that situation. I just feel like the search for a franchise quarterback should continue until Purdy either wins a Super Bowl or I don't know. I'm a little skeptical, I got to say.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Well, yeah. I agree with you, by the way. You don't have a franchise quarterback until you do. And and since you can't typically win in the NFL without one, unless you know you have one, you got to keep drafting and looking for one. And that's why I do like
So bring in Jake Haener. Freaking bring in Jake Haener, man. Do it.
Jake Haener, whoever you think is the guy.
Take a swing.
That guy in. But I mean, the only thing is you can only have 3. And if you bring in a rookie quarterback in this draft, that means you're trading Trey Lance or Brock Purdy's out for the year. Or Darnold.
Yeah. Hey, man, make a survivor. I like that. Someone's getting kicked off the island. This is real serious. I like that. And also, what did John Lynch say today? They went through 5 quarterbacks last year. Yeah, you did. So maybe find a way to have 5 on in the building somehow. I don't know. On standby like that. Twisted Clown says, Kyle Grant, I'm going to show the NFL the super flying V. Sam at quarterback, Trey at Brock, split fullback, CMC and Debo, split running back. Kyle, he's just always one step ahead. Battle Bear 19 says, Brock fits our window is the dumbest thing I've heard. We've been hearing this since 2021, no rings. Way tougher schedule this year. AFC North is tough. Well, I mean, look, he does fit the timeline. The question is he good enough? And it is fair to wonder if Trey does fit the timeline because of what happened the last 2 years.
Well, okay.
I'm actually with Larry on that.
I mean, think about it. We've seen Brock win games. We've seen Brock win playoff games.
Yeah, no doubt.
So he's obviously ready to win right now.
He's good to go. You want him on your team.
Saw him win. Trey, we hope can do that, but it's
same
projection.
with Darnold. Same with Darnold.
Oh,
Payne says. Yeah, Sir Payne says Larry hates Trey so much he doesn't that he would trade Trey for the last pick of the draft because he believes the Niners will pick another. Hold on, so Larry makes a prediction and people say he hates the guy. There's a difference between saying I think this is going to happen from I think this should happen. I think you've been pretty clear that you wouldn't trade him for anything less than a 1. Isn't that your stance?
Well, my stance is I think that, first of all, I was the guy who wanted him to begin with. At this point, I would trade him for a late 1 or a high 2. Because to me, if you get a high 2, you might be able to get Michael Mayer from Notre Dame. You might be able to get Foskey, who they met with at the Pro Day. Yeah. I love Michael Mayer. I love Foskey. I love Kalijah Kancey. Kalijah Kancey, I think, is a super special player. I mean, it's clear that the Niners want to have an awesome D-line. If you could add Kalijah Kancey to your D-line, I'd rather have that.
Here's how the Niners do that. Here's how the Niners trade Trey Lance for a late 1st or early 2. Add another player to the deal. And that way you don't or player, because if it's another player, then you don't really know what Lance's value was.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Ambry
you don't
Thomas
know. And it's not embarrassing. Or someone with actual value who doesn't suck. Sorry, Ambry. That was kind of mean. But
or you take a young quarterback coming back, going back the other way. Maybe you take a Davis
Zach
Mills.
Wilson. I've been asking everyone this.
Wow.
Who says no? Trey for Zach. Who says no? Which team and why?
I think both teams say no. I think the Niners say no because Zach Wilson has never proven that he can work in a muddy pocket, and NFL pockets are always muddy. I mean, there's always people around you. He doesn't like the bodies around him. It's clear he didn't. You saw it at BYU. He never really operated in a muddy pocket. In the NFL, you're always got bodies hurled around you. So I think they would say no.
I think the Jets would do it.
You think the Jets?
I think the Jets would say yes. I think they want to get him out of that building. I think they're out on him because of who he is. I think they want him out. And I think with Trey, you could look at him as like, oh, we could sit him behind Aaron Rodgers for a year. Like, we're perfect. Trey's not a toxic person. And then from the Niners' perspective, I think they really liked him when he was coming out. And again, they could think the same thing with Darnold. Like, Zach Wilson's been with the Jets. That's a poverty franchise. Like, come over here. You're from the West Coast-ish in Utah. You'll fit in over here. There'll be no pressure. We like you. I don't know. I don't know.
I could see Minnesota stashing Trey behind Cousins for a year.
I can see that. David W. says, again, questions at quarterback and O-line. Really a Super Bowl window? Thought all Super Bowl contenders have elite quarterbacks and good O-lines. That's what I thought, but the Niners, have a different script that they're going to. They're the, they got what they got.
Right now, by the way, the 49ers are the highest number over-under in Vegas. Highest number of wins this year. So Vegas thinks they're going to win the most games. Well, it's their division. They got a lousy division.
It's true. Chap says we trade Brock like Larry wants. What happens if Brock isn't the same? We trade Brock. I don't think Larry's saying trade Brock. What happens if Brock isn't the same? It doesn't matter because you got Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold is one of the best quarterbacks of all time. Did you know that?
These things don't have to, they aren't necessarily tied together. If the 49ers either do or don't believe in Trey Lance, and you're not going to know it based on what they're saying. You have to judge what they're doing because nobody's going to devalue their asset intentionally. We don't like him. It kind of sucks. We drafted him. We don't like him. Nobody's going to say that. So we don't know exactly how they feel about Trey. We do know exactly how they feel about Brock. They like Brock. They've said it, and they've loved Darnold, and they say that. So
I know
the fact that they're not loving up on Trey kind of makes me think that, and they won't just say, you know what, he's going to be on the team. Makes me think that if the right player or the right team calls this weekend with the right picks, that they'll pull the trigger. That's my guess.
Yeah, but the Niners won't be so lucky. Fish and Chip says good chance quarterback we need isn't on the team. That's what I think. The way I look at it is Brock's got a spot in this team for sure. But is he Nick Foles or is he Jalen Hurts? I would say he's Nick Foles. But I guess I could be wrong. John Lynch clearly thinks he's better than Lamar Jackson. So there's a difference of opinion here. We'll have to see who's right. I'm going with Nick Foles.
You think
I'm usually wrong.
You think it's just a hot streak?
I think it's a great team.
He's a career backup, and it's a hot streak.
He's a great backup. He's a great backup with mobility who fits this system perfectly and is on a hell of a team. Number one defense in the league. The best weapons in the league. Yeah, he should be able to win on this team. I think a quarterback who can't win on this team might really suck, which is why the Niners are looking at Lance the way they are.
Before Purdy, though, 9-29, all quarterbacks not named Jimmy.
Yeah,
in the same team, same
but
system.
That wasn't the same team. Nick Mullins never played with Christian McCaffrey, and Debo was out all of 2020. It wasn't always the same team. I think
they've been a consistent winner. They've been in 3 of the last 4 NFC Championship games, and one of those teams went to the Super Bowl. 2020,
they sucked. They were hurt. They set a record for injuries in 2020.
Yeah, they did.
They sucked that year. Anyway,
they had a ton of guys hurt.
Isaiah Gill says Trey freaking area. Hey, I love it. Chap says Lance, my bad. I already forgot what you talked about, but at least he said my bad. Thank you very much. Moving on. Who's the most gifted quarterback in the 49ers quarterback room? Just gifted. Because this is a whole, not who's the best right now. Because I guess that would have to be Brock, given what he's done. I'm talking gifted. I feel like Kyle might say Sam Darnold, which might just make me fall over. I don't know.
Wow. Yeah. I guess I would have to say Trey, just from the standpoint of, the one thing he did at North Dakota State that we never talk about at all, but he was just this awesome play action fake guy, great taking snaps under center, great in the play action game from under center. Footwork was down, head fakes, ball fakes, all really strong. He ran for 1,100 yards. He threw for 28 touchdowns and I think only 1 interception. Or was it none?
It might have been none. Can I read his scouting report real quick? The strengths from NFL
stat line. Took care of the football, set the protections.
Let me read these strengths real quick on his draft profile because it's kind of wild that this was written 2 years ago. This is what they wrote about him. Strengths: film junkie with high football IQ and NFL frame. Makes calls to set his own protections. Bouncy feet for accelerated pocket setups. Play fake aficionado from under center, causing defenders to consistently bite. Passing scheme encourages full field reads. Processes progressions very quickly, can work to its 4th read when protected. Able to mentally recalibrate his attack when play comes off schedule. Taking care of the football is a priority for him. Rarely takes bait against zone defenders and safeties looking to pounce. Compact, twitchy release. partially mitigates his windup, makes attempt to throw targets away from coverage, adequate anticipation on timing routes, makes quality touch throws into sideline buckets and over linebackers, knows his way around the pocket and can make sudden escapes, above average speed, athleticism, and power when he's on the move, able to move the chains in a variety of ways. That's a lot of strengths.
And we've picked, if you close your eyes, you can picture almost all of those traits. The only thing on that entire report that I would say I'd even push back on at all is I think his motion has a little bit of a hitch, and it's not the cleanest motion, and there's all kinds of
he's not a natural thrower.
It's just not a natural motion from where he takes the ball when he's holding it to when his release point. There's movement there. There's refinement that needs to be necessary. And also I would say I've seen less of the touch passes that were described there. I think it's there. We saw a beautiful one to Danny Gray down the sideline against Green Bay in the preseason where he dropped it in the bucket. I mean, it was absolutely perfect. But I see less of those throws. I see a guy who's kind of throws some of that stuff really super hard. But a lot of that stuff I do see. I mean, a lot of that stuff I really believe are his legitimate strengths.
What's crazy is when his first pro day happened, people flipped out. And if you remember, you can look it up. Daniel Jeremiah wrote his scouting report of Trey Lance right around then. At the end, he had a pro comparison for him. Can you guess who he compared Trey Lance to? Daniel Jeremiah. Guess.
Mahomes?
Andrew Luck.
Andrew Luck.
Okay. I mean, damn. And now we look at him as like, man, is this guy Blaine Gabbert? Is this guy going to be on the Toronto Argonauts in a couple years? Like, how could this? He gets 4 starts and the team's like, no. Like, that's to me is just crazy. You can't tell me. I mean, let me look at Sam Darnold. Let's go back, and he was the 3rd pick in the draft. Let's reacquaint ourselves with Sam Darnold's profile. What is he working with? Okay, let's see. He's been on bad teams. Lance Zierlein, here's his strengths. Has desired NFL size, trusts his pocket and keeps eyes down the field, looks off safeties, takes what the defense is offering and won't overcomplicate it, scans full field, and eyes don't get bogged down on a single target, gets through progressions like a pro, throws with desired anticipation and timing, isolates deep ball opportunities pre-snap. There isn't a throw he fears, impressive feel for spatial relationship between target and defender, trusts his arm and placement, naturally accurate with tight spirals, tight spirals, has arm talent to uncork it quickly, rifles it to hitches and swing passes, giving them more time to operate, has velocity, timing, and accuracy to own the deep out, tough in and out of the pocket, feels edge pressure and climbs away from sharks circling the arc, shakes off sack attempts and throws with accuracy and pace when on the move, completion percentage unaffected by the blitz. Man, this guy is like the greatest ever. Sudden processor when faced with free running blitzers, can pump and recalibrate, tough runner who can move the sticks, doesn't get shaken by in-game mistakes, shows quality leadership and poise. Oh my God, that's a Hall of Famer. Wow, they're on the same team. The Niners must have the best quarterback room in the league. I take it all back. Whoa.
Sam Darnold.
Wow.
That's an awesome
John
report.
Elway.
Well, okay, a couple things in there that I think that people have talked about for a long time. It's the accuracy. People like the accuracy of Sam Darnold. But as far as manipulating safeties and this is that, this guy's turned the ball over a lot. And it wasn't just for the bad Jets. He turned the ball over a lot at USC. So, yes, he's 6'4". But I mean, 4.85, so it's not a crazy 40 time. It's 26-inch vertical, not a crazy athletic build. I mean, it's, they compared him to Luck. That's amazing.
What's crazy about Darnold too is like, even if he is known for his accuracy, that's crazy because his career completion percentage is 59.7, and last year when he had his career renaissance, it was 58.6. So to me, I don't know. I mean, I actually think Lance and Darnold are kind of similar. I think they're in that Blaine Gabbert mold of big, strong, fast, smart guys that get picked really high, but they're arm throwers that don't really control the ball that well. And Gabbert never fixed it. Darnold's trying. I don't know if he ever will. And Lance is 22 years old and trying. But these are the big, strong guys, fast, smart, seemingly the prototype. But what is the accuracy really? Like, are you mechanically sound, or are you just guys who've been winging it your whole lives because you're so gifted? That's what I look at.
Well, I mean, I just think that what was Trey Lance when he came out? He was super inexperienced.
Yep.
And he was coming off the FCS level. And if you read that Lance ZeroLineNFL.com report, it quotes an AFC personnel executive from an AFC team. And he basically says you have to be really patient with him. And are they being
the Niners?
Really
4 starts. Peace. Get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
I would say no, although they did. I mean, they didn't play him right away, which I guess. I mean, hold on. So this is Daniel Jeremiah, what he said about him 2 years ago. What I liked: poise, accuracy, decision-making, playmaking ability, toughness. I mean, Jesus, man. What he reminds me of Andrew Luck. I know Luck is a little bit bigger, but they are similar athletes, and they both played with the maturity beyond their age at the college level. I remember watching Luck run over defenders. I also remember being so impressed with his ability to execute on key plays in every game. I see the same things when I study Lance. More than anything else, these are two guys who exude confidence on the field. They are fearless, but they avoid being reckless. That's a very delicate balance. Luck was on his way to a Hall of Fame career before shocking the football world and retiring a year ago. I don't have quite the same grade on Lance, but he could get there with continued growth and development. Hall of Fame! That was 2 years ago, man. The guy has lost 2 games in the NFL, and people are like, man, he might be the biggest bust ever. It's amazing. It's really amazing how perceptions change.
It shows that, you know, he required patience and development, and
didn't get it.
I wondered, on draft day, I know Kyle Shanahan's smart. I know he's a good offensive coach. I know he can call plays. I know his offense produces points, but that doesn't make you a quarterback guru, and that doesn't mean you can develop a quarterback. And
preach.
You know what? I think at this point, Brock Purdy is perfect for him because he's ready to roll. He doesn't need any development. And if you told me in this draft that they were going to wind up trading Trey Lance and winding up with another quarterback like a Jake Hayner or somebody who's played a ton, 48 career college starts, who also could, my guess is I could easily see it happen.
If they trade Trey Lance for Jake Hayner straight up, I'm telling you, fans are going to lose it. I don't think they're that bold. Maybe Kyle is. Jet ain't. I'd love to see him do it. And I know you want to win that bet. I'm rooting for you to win that bet. But I just don't see it. Hey, God love you if you do, though. I'll tip my hat to you. Most gifted quarterback on the Niners? I don't know. I mean, was Trey Lance the most misevaluated quarterback of all time? How do you go from being compared to Andrew Luck to competing with Sam Darnold for a job? Sam Darnold was, I think, compared to Andrew Luck coming out of USC. Like, wasn't he the guy who could do it all? Wasn't he wise behind his ears? I don't know.
I mean, the one thing about Trey, it's kind of like same with Trubisky. You have 1 year starters, so there's a lot of it's projecting. You're projecting, what he's going to be down the road. He's going to be good down the road. I really believe that. It's just people want it right now, and the Niners want it. The Niners don't just want it right now. The Niners need it right now. The Niners are like, you know what? We're in our Super Bowl window, but we're not going to be there long. And this kid needs 2.5 years to develop, but we don't have 2.5 years to develop him. That's where I
go get Lamar. Go get Lamar.
But see,
all right, go ahead.
Makes a lot of money.
That's true.
They were committed.
And you want to win a Super Bowl
contract? They want a veteran type player they want a rookie who's got a veteran like makeup. And they feel like they have that in Purdy. I bet you they're going to wind up with another guy like that.
I feel it, and it's a good way to go until you don't want to overspend for the Jimmy Garoppolos of the world. But how many quarterbacks have won Super Bowls in the rookie deal? 2. Patrick Mahomes and Russell Wilson, Hall of Famers. Although I don't know if Russell Wilson's going to be a Hall of Famer. But really, really, really good quarterbacks. It doesn't matter what you're paying. A guy has to be really, 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 really good one way or another. One way or another.
There's no question. You only win with a top
really
tier
good
guy.
Yes.
But here's the thing: if you're built to win on with a quarterback with a rookie deal, you can't just pivot and say, now we'll take Rodgers. We'll take Lamar, because all that means is you're going to get rid of Aiyuk.
They have to change your team.
Bosa.
All right, well, they got to prove that this construction of a roster is actually a Super Bowl formula, because what you've done is built your team backwards. You got everything. You got the long snapper. You got everything other than the quarterback, and you're saying, okay, well, with everything, these quarterbacks can succeed. You got the defense, the weapons, the left tackle, the coach. You've been given everything. You can't fail. Okay, well, we'll see, because every other team just goes for the quarterback first and then works from there. Not the geniuses of Santa Clara, because they're light years. What is it about Bay Area people thinking we're light years ahead of everyone else. It's just how we operate. I don't know.
I think they lucked into Purdy to a degree. I mean, they drafted this guy. They thought he had some skills, and he showed way more off-schedule mobility. And so now they feel like they got the guy, and they're so tantalized by the idea of winning the Super Bowl and contending for a Super Bowl and having the rookie quarterback in the rookie deal. That I just think we're measuring this so many different ways. It's this and that and arm strength and upside. And no. It's about who's ready to play right now. And Brock is, and Trey may be, and so they're all in on Brock.
Joctavius Montford, best name I've ever heard, says Purdy equals Romo. I actually always felt that pre-ACL injury Jimmy was sort of in that mold, although he was never as good as Romo. But Romo's bigger than Purdy, slower than Purdy. Purdy's like, who did Pete Carroll compare him to? Fran Tarkenton. I never saw Fran Tarkenton play.
To me, he's kind of okay. Yeah. So you know who was compared to Fran Tarkenton before Purdy? Russell Wilson. He's kind of like poor man's Russell Wilson. He's not.
Russell Wilson has
the athlete the Russell is, but
he doesn't have the deep. He doesn't have the deep ball. Russell Wilson's the greatest deep ball I've ever seen. But so I just want to see how far can Purdy get without a deep ball. I just want to know. Because I don't think he really has one.
Those guys know how to win. I mean, how many? The Niners are what, 4-16 or 4-17 against Russell, maybe. And he did the kinds of things that he did to Seattle last year, sliding for a first down, kind of annoying everybody at the end, running out the clock.
Yeah. Dave Barclay says, "Have you ever rolled one show into another?" No, I haven't. I thought it was fun today because why? It's easier. Still support Trey. Still say fire Kyle and John. Hey, respect, Dave. Possibly even Jed. Yeah, fire the owner. Why not? He doesn't appear to have a spine. He doesn't appear to have. He's a jellyfish. Can't Trey get to start with all these guys? Yeah, just given how much you've put into him, wouldn't you want to just see him with the full complement of weapons before you trade him? Given that, you would think, unless you're getting first. Battle Beast 19 says Grant knows BP sanity over if he plays this year. BP sanity, like Lynn sanity.
I got you.
I don't know. NG49 says Trey was ready.
Now he's Jeremy Lin.
I don't know.
Dude, that is so disrespectful.
I am a little afraid for Brock that if he comes back and plays this year and he's not fully recovered, people write him off. Hey, it's possible that he gets cleared, but there's like mental hurdles to recover, and he won't be fully the Brock Purdy we remember until halfway through the season or 2024. And I would hope that he doesn't. It's a very much what have you done for me lately league. So I'm just putting that out there for Brock, keep that in mind. Get healthy and be your own advocate here because you're replaceable to the 49ers. As much as they say they like you, wait till they draft Jake Haener and then they feel like they have two of you. The Cosmic Channel says Trey Lance is the future, period. Be nice if he could ever be the present. And that's on him and the Niners. Gold Rush says, Larry, thank you for not screaming your opinions. Do I scream my opinions? I'm so sorry. I will talk much quieter. I get excited. Sorry about that.
How dare you be energetic?
I'm sorry. Lance for MVP. How about Lance for, let's start smaller than MVP. Wasn't he like one of the...
How about Lance for 3 games in a row without an injury? Let's go with that.
How about 7 quarters? I'm not putting that on him. If you go to Vegas and do like a futures bet on the MVP this year, isn't Lance one of the odds-on favorites to win the MVP this year? I don't know if
he's one of them. He's definitely one of them.
Yeah, because Vegas thinks the Niners are the best team in the league, no matter who their quarterback is. So it's like whoever gets the honor of, and it is true. It's like it's a very quarterback-friendly system until you get injured. So there's that.
Well, I'll say this: it's a quarterback-friendly system. But you're playing with great weapons, but you're playing behind a line that's just pretty good, not great, that's judging it soft. And you're also playing for a coach that is incredibly, notoriously difficult on his quarterbacks, and yet demands a ton out of them. So and is not great at accepting blame. No. So you're going to get a big portion of that. So this is a great job, but it also comes with its own challenges.
Also, his passing game is predicated on slow developing play action passes where tight ends and running backs block edge rushers. So, protect yourself, buddy.
Get rid of that ball.
As Brock Purdy learned, hey, step up in the pocket and throw a little quicker. Cade Carter says D'Amico and Carthon know Trey better than anyone else. If they actually saw something special in the last 2 years, they'd offer a second for him, no question. Yeah, I'm just saying the fact that the Texans haven't jumped at it, the fact that the Titans haven't jumped at it, the fact that the Niners are even putting him on the block, it's got to give teams pause. Like, whoa, what happened in Santa Clara? What are we missing? We liked him coming out of North Dakota State, but what the hell happened in Santa Clara? I don't know.
Or it's just a simple deal of, hey, we want to make this deal after we see what we get in the first round, see how the thing falls. I mean, every team's got players they like. If you got some player that you had 15th in the first round and you're at 32 and you're the Texans and he's sitting right there, you'd rather draft him. So you're not going to make the trade ahead of time. But if you don't have that player and you didn't go quarterback with your first 2 picks and you're coming up on 32, who knows? All of a sudden that may look like Lance may look very attractive. So I think it's a lot of that going on.
Cool. I would love Trey Lance to get traded to a team that believes in him and wants him, because I feel like he hasn't had that yet in his career, and it's too bad. I mean, you have essentially no chance to succeed unless you get in that situation. I don't care how good the team is. If the roster doesn't want you there, if the coaches aren't committed to you, you're screwed. So I'd love to get traded to a team that believes in him, but I don't know what that team is. And again, I keep coming back to his values all derived from 2019. Man, in 2019, I was a whole different person.
Lots happened between then.
Lots happened. NG49 says Trey was ready to play this past year. Why would that have changed? When he was playing, there was enthusiasm with fans and media because he flashed potential. Why is he all of a sudden not ready? I mean, the Niners haven't said anything, right? They just keep... What they're saying essentially is that, look, no disrespect to Trey. He got hurt. It set back the development. He still needs to improve on some things. It's just that Brock Purdy's better than Lamar Jackson. So we got our franchise quarterback. And that's where I'm like, yo, guys, can we slow down, please? Can we just slow down? It all
goes back to what Lynch said at the Combine. He goes, hey, you know what? Trey Lance, needs to play, but we got a team that's ready to win right now. And the implication was clear at that point. The implication was that Trey is not ready to play right now. They have a team that's ready to win right now, and Trey's got to play. That's not a problem unless you don't think Trey can play. If you don't think Trey can play right now, that's a problem. And I think that's where they're at. They don't believe that Trey can play right now.
Right. What I'd like to say to the Niners is that, guys, you guys suck at evaluating your quarterbacks in practice. And what I'd like, just know that. And give the guy a chance in the game for like a stretch. He hasn't even played. Like, Jimmy came here, didn't have to practice, wasn't running the scout team, just learned the offense, got on the field, won 5 games, never had to run the scout team, never was judged on practice. Trey had to run the scout team for a year while he didn't even know who he was as a quarterback. I could see him struggling in that role. And you judged him off that, then you make him the starting quarterback anyway, and then he gets hurt, and you're like, oh, it didn't work out. Like, ooh, you know what? I get loving Brock, although even that feels a little hasty, but while he's working his way back, maybe, just maybe, you need to see Trey Lance in a game to see if he's a gamer, because I feel like you think Jimmy's a gamer. I know John Lynch said that to me. Jimmy's a gamer. Brock, clearly a gamer. What if Trey's a gamer? We don't know. He's played 4 games and won 2 of them. One.
They've seen a lot of them. So they should know. They should know what they have, right? Shouldn't they know?
They didn't know what they had in Brock. They did not know what they had in Brock. Yeah, but they didn't play him. When Trey went down, they played Jimmy when Brock was better. They should have known that Brock was better. Brock's better than Jimmy. They played Jimmy. They should have played Brock. I question their ability to evaluate their own quarterbacks in practice. Practice isn't football. It's like a football-like substitute. Yeah, that's not even the same sport. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no pass rush. There's no tackling. There's no live bullets.
My whole thing with it is like, hey, look, if you're being you're being very clear with Trey about your feelings. Trey's telling us, hey, I just want a chance to play. It's pretty obvious. If he was getting a chance to play, he probably wouldn't say that. But the fact is that they're saying, well, we'll see if he competes. We'll see. We're going to find out. They're either going to give him this chance or they're not. And if he's good enough, then he'll play. But I kind of wonder, if you said to me, what do they really want? I don't think they want some gigantic big competition. I think they've already evaluated the thing and want to go with Brock Purdy. And so I kind of think they'll wind up moving Trey to a place where he can play, and then going with Brock and replacing Trey in the draft. That's what I think's going to happen.
I know. You bet on it. You bet an entire meal.
I know.
You bet an entire meal on it. It takes two to tango. We'll see if that market develops. Angie, sorry for skipping you. Manny PSF95 says, Grant, you said BP was a franchise quarterback after the Seahawks playoff win, but now say he's a high-level backup. You're going to have to show me saying that on film. And if I did, I was tripping. Franchise quarterback? Nah, I don't think so. I said that? I don't think I said that. Man, if I said that, I was tripping. Lynch was short and sweet with you, Grant. I thought he gave a nice answer. Has Trey's agents asked for a trade? No. Well, way to clear up that one. Good to know. I hope Trey traded and balls out. Free Trey. Balls out. Yeah.
He could. That's why they got to get something of significance, and I think they know it. I think they know it. That's why they're afraid to make a trade. They don't want to make a trade and get burned. They know he goes somewhere and becomes Mahomes. You're going to look like a fool. So you got to get something that's good.
Doesn't even have to be Mahomes.
You win the Super Bowl this
Doesn't
year.
even have to be Mahomes. You trade him for a 3rd-round pick and he ends up being a good starting quarterback. You look dumb. Yeah.
Unless somehow Brock becomes the next great one and you win 7 Super Bowls.
If he's Joe Montana, for sure. Yeah. How about them Niners? Grant, Larry, NFL Draft Buzz, quarterback comparisons, Haener, Hoyer, DTR, Josh Johnson. Oh, what? With more upside, Tune, Brock, Purdy thoughts. I'm offended by this whole comment here. Josh Johnson with more upside? No, my comparison for DTR is Dennis Dixon. Remember Dennis Dixon before he tore his ACL?
Yeah, at Oregon.
He's a few years older than me, and he went to San Leandro High, and like that's not that far from O'Dowd, and everyone at O'Dowd pretended like they knew him. Like, oh, Dennis Dixon, that's my cousin. Oh yeah, that's my cousin's cousin. That's my cousin's friend. So he was great at baseball too, so good, and he was, I think, the first quarterback that Chip Kelly coached at Oregon, and that's when all that stuff took off, and then he tore his ACL. Sorry, Dennis.
My only question with Haener is injuries. He's been hurt a lot. I like Tune quite a bit, though.
And he's 5'11".
Yeah, he's 5'11", 6 feet. But to me,
he's smaller than Brock. He's smaller than Brock.
And he's not as mobile. And he's had injuries. He hasn't been as healthy.
To me, the only reason people are excited about Jake Haener is because of Brock Purdy. Swear to God. Everyone's like, okay.
He was the MVP of the Senior Bowl. They said he was great down there.
That's true. That's something to that. There is something to being good in the Senior Bowl. That's true. Still though. Also that S2 cognition thing. Everyone's all excited about that now. And he got like a 8th percentile or something?
96th, I think. Yeah.
DTR got 91 though.
I know. I mean, to me, that you saw John Lynch today talking about what he likes in prospects, and he's like smart, but he's like football smart.
Yeah.
So in other words,
you want to be rocket scientist.
Well, yeah, I mean,
but you do have to be football smart, and I feel like every player on the Niners can really talk football.
Well, they just want someone who loves playing. They don't want some guy who's just super athletic, who not interested in playing football, doesn't want to play football.
I can see that. Kid Carter says Niners might think some quarterbacks are better than they really are, Jimmy Garoppolo, but when they think they're bad, they're usually really bad. No one has ever been better after the Niners dumped them. Trey is likely just bad. Well, they haven't dumped him yet, though. To your point, kid. To your point.
Give it time.
Yeah, CJ Beathard hasn't burned him yet, but CJ Beathard also, don't count him out either.
I'm counting him out.
I'm counting him out. Larry, what do you got going on the rest of the night?
Join me over in the Krug show. Jesse Naylor is going to be in the house tonight.
Ooh.
And then later on tonight, Raj from RSF 49ers is going to stop by. A lot of Lynch talk, a lot of Niner talk, a lot of trade talk, a lot of Trey talk, not trade talk, a lot of Aiyuk talk. We'll get into a bunch of Niners. It's going to be good.
In retrospect, it probably wasn't good that Trey's name sounds almost exactly like trade. Also, probably wasn't good that Kenny Pickett's last name is Pickett and he's a quarterback. Come on. Kidding me? I think names matter. Anyway, thanks for watching, everyone. It was a Mondo back-to-back show. It was fun. I enjoyed it. Go tune in to Larry. He'll keep it going. Larry, thank you. I'm passing the baton. Oh, Sherpain, how dare you give me $5? Reason people are excited about Jake Haener is the Bay. Oh, true. Is because his mom is Julie Haener. That is so true. Larry has been ready to rename Brock Montana since starting. Did I really call Brock Purdy a franchise quarterback after Seattle? Man, I
remember that.
Oh, man, I'm a prisoner of the moment. Look, I might have said it. I hope I didn't. but I might have said it.
Who's got receipts?
God, man, I am such a victim of receipts. I could be on freezing cold takes every freaking day. Thank good. I think they just got like tired of dunking on me. It's too easy at this point. It's like, okay, yeah, Grant was wrong again. Larry, though, you can't get Larry. He's usually right, except about Lance getting traded on draft night. Thank you very much, everyone. See you guys.